Chapter 1267. The moment this voice sounded, Wei Wuyan was stunned. It was completely unexpected. What was unexpected wasn't this person's sudden appearance, but because, even with Lang Yilong's cultivation, he actually didn't notice that someone was hiding at the side. Lang Yilang didn't move. Not a single part of his body moved, but his aura suddenly changed. It became as sharp as an arrow released from a bow. In addition, the merciless and ruthless aura that had just disappeared from his body also returned sternly. Without turning around, he said dispassionately, Li Qingyun? That voice chuckled. As expected of Master Lang. It's been 200 years since we last met, but you actually still remember my voice. Following the laughter, an elderly man in white suddenly and quietly appeared in front of the two of them. Li Qingyun, why is the Li clan here? Lang Yilong's expression didn't change as he asked dispassionately. Master Lang, are you implying that this old man has not heard of Master Lang's sentimental past? Li Qingyun smiled with narrowed eyes. This was a rather disrespectful question. Furthermore, it was an admission that he had been eavesdropping the whole time. Lang Yilong's expression turned cold. He said dispassionately, isn't it very interesting? Not necessarily. It's just that I didn't expect Master Lang's past to be so tragic. Li Qingyun said, even this old man is touched. Lang Yilang laughed strangely. So the Li clan's target is me. Li Qingyun, let's not beat around the bush. Give me your reason. Li Qingyun heaved a long sigh. He said, Master Lang. This old man has come out this time for two reasons. Firstly, to assist Master Lang in capturing the extraterrestrial demon's accomplices. Secondly, I just want to invite Master Lang to the Li clan so that the Li clan can play the role of host. We have no intention of becoming enemies with you, much less targeting you. Please don't misunderstand Master Lang. With his hands behind his back, Lang Yilang looked up at the sky and said softly, what if I say no? Li Qingyun's eyes flickered. He said, it's better that Master Lang agrees. This place is remote and the mountains are high and the pits are deep. If you get lost here, it'll be very difficult to find the way back. Lang Yilang sneered. Right at this moment, figures moved. Lang Yilang's subordinates, as well as Wan Renjie and the others, also noticed the abnormality. One after another, they leaped forward. After this period of recuperation, Wan Renjie and the others had basically recovered their physical strength. Moreover, these ruthless law enforcement officers who were rumored to be cold and heartless didn't have any enmity towards them. They even prepared some water and dry food for the three of them to eat. This greatly surprised the three of them. It seemed like before Lang Yilang came here, he really had no intention of capturing them and bringing them to justice. He merely wanted to fulfill his long-cherished wish. Wan Renjie walked up to Wei Wuyan. She looked at him questioningly. Wei Wuyan smiled sadly, I'm fine. Wan Renjie and the other two felt relieved. At this moment there were 14 people on this side, but there was only Li Qingyun on the other side. What a grand formation. When Master Lang went out, he was indeed accompanied by a large entourage. Out of the 30 gold medal officers of the law enforcement officers, there's actually one accompanying him. Li Qingyun's eyes flickered as he chuckled with a relaxed expression. Lang Yilang said dispassionately, get your men to come out. Stop talking nonsense. I don't want to listen to your nonsense either. You want me, Lang Yilang, to visit the Li clan on my own accord? The Li clan isn't that big of a deal. Let's see who's stronger. Li Qingyun let out a long howl. He burst into laughter. Master Lang isn't giving us face at all. Boys, come and sincerely invite us. Following his shout, everyone suddenly responded at the same time, Master Lang, please make a trip to the Li clan. Figures flashed and appeared one after another. North, south, east and west. White-robed men walked over in an orderly manner. Wei Wuyan's heart sank. There were a total of 200 of them. Moreover, all of them were experts. Given Lang Yilang's current strength, there was no way he could challenge the other party at all. Lang Yilang's expression was cold and hard. He didn't say a word, but his gaze gradually became as cruel as a vulture's. They surrounded them from all sides, forming a huge encirclement, trapping everyone within. Li Qingyun smiled lightly. Master Lang, the Li clan has sent out 1 second-grade supreme martial artist, 1 fifth-grade supreme martial artist, 2 fourth-grade supreme martial artists, 5 third-grade supreme martial artists, 5 second-grade supreme martial artists, 10 first-grade supreme martial artists, 50 second-grade martial artists and 148th-grade martial artists. With such a huge lineup and limitless sincerity, we invite Master Lang to visit the Li clan. Lang Yilang sneered. The lineup is not small, but the Li clan is not qualified enough. Master Lang will know very soon whether we are qualified enough or not. A sharp glint flashed across Li Qingyun's eyes. The difference in strength between the two parties was too huge. Lang Yilong had traveled light and traveled thousands of miles, while the Li clan had obviously planned this a long time ago and had been preparing for this for a long time. Now that the lineup had been revealed, the situation on Lang Yilong's side was so bad that it was almost impossible for them to retaliate. Lang Yilong and his subordinates' expressions didn't change at all, as if they were used to this and didn't take it to heart at all. Indifference was written all over their faces. They had been in charge of the torture chamber for a long time. What they had been doing all these years was to torture or kill people. As time passed, their temperament had already been honed. They were already used to life and death. Whether it was the lives of others or their own, in their eyes, it was as if they were indifferent. Li Qingyun smiled lightly. It was the smile of someone who had the entire situation under control. In his opinion, Lang Yilong would never be able to escape. And that was the truth. Amidst the snowstorm, a white figure flew over lightly. It landed at a distance of several thousand feet and then flew close to the ground. It was Chu Yang. He had followed the Li clan team and walked for a few days straight. It was only after confirming the direction of the target that he found this place. However, the other party had the advantage in numbers and experts. Chu Yang didn't dare to reveal himself either. It was only when these people suddenly appeared and didn't care about their backs at all that Chu Yang took the opportunity to get close to the place. At this moment, as he observed the situation, Chu Yang's brows furrowed slightly. Such a situation. It was really beyond his expectations. It was extremely vile. Even if he was included, Lang Yilong's side didn't have any chance of winning at all. But Chu Yang had to think of a way. Whether it was for the purple crystal mine of the second tribulation sword or for Wei Wuyan, Wan Renjie and the other three, he couldn't just stand by and watch. But now, more than 10 plans flashed through Chu Yang's mind in the blink of an eye. Compared to the current situation, not a single one of them was effective. He was truly at his wit's end. What should I do to get out of this predicament? Chu Yang's mind raced. He looked at the terrain. This was just a forest in a snowy land. Although there were ups and downs, they weren't huge. The worst thing was that there wasn't even a dense forest. And this was the northwest. Generally, any means that could be hidden in the snowy land would definitely be exposed in the eyes of the local tyrants, the Li clan. Moreover, there was another matter that gave Chu Yang a headache. It was also precisely because of this that he had the urge to curse at the appearance of these Li clan members. Both Wei Wuyan and Lang Yilong had just gotten their revenge and were feeling empty inside. At a time like this, even if others didn't kill or deal with them, they probably even had suicidal tendencies themselves. Yet, at a time like this, they had fallen into the range of a battle to the death. To the two of them, a pillow came just when they were about to doze off. Even if Chu Yang came up with a solution, the two of them might not leave. This was Chu Yang's biggest headache. If they really wanted to break out of the encirclement with Chu Yang's current position, there was at least an 80% chance that they would succeed in breaking out of the encirclement. As for whether they would be caught after breaking out of the encirclement, that would be something to worry about after breaking out of the encirclement. But breaking out of the encirclement was something that they had confidence in. But if the two of them became stubborn and had nothing left to live for, then even if Chu Yang were to take action, the biggest possibility was that he would be implicated by them and die here. What should he do about this? For a moment, Chu Yang was so worried that his hair almost turned white. The smell of gunpowder was getting stronger and stronger. The one you want to deal with is only me. Lang Yilong's eyes didn't move. He said dispassionately, "Let these four leave first. These four people have nothing to do with me." Li Qingyun obviously didn't want to cause more trouble. If he wanted to keep these four people here, he would probably have to pay a hefty price. He nodded and said, "Although these four people are the extraterrestrial demons' accomplices, they have nothing to do with the extraterrestrial demons. However, that has nothing to do with the Li clan. If the four of you wish to leave, please do so now. Elder Lang has helped me take my revenge. At a time like this, how can I, Wei Wuyan, drag out an ignoble existence and leave?" As Chu Yang expected, Wei Wuyan said emotionally, "Brother Wan, all of you can leave." Wan Renjie was surprised and displeased. "Are the three of us afraid of death?" Cheng Duing and Bao Buhuan agreed. "Boss is right." In the dark, Chu Yang lowered his head, completely speechless. "The four of you are so stubborn, I'm really speechless. If all of you leave first, with only Lang Yilong and the others left, it would be easier for them to break out of the encirclement since they have worked together for so many years. If it really doesn't work out, It's also possible for me to suddenly take action at the last moment to kidnap Lang Yilong. In any case, the Li clan would definitely not bear to kill Lang Yilong, but with the four of you here, Chu Yang was really at a loss for what to do. No matter how capable I am, I can't possibly take 5 people and fly away right under the eyes of a low-grade supreme martial artist. Isn't this going to make me worry to death? Good. What a loyal and righteous man. What a man of the martial world. Li Qingyun sneered. Since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, I shall fulfill your righteousness and let you be heroes. With a wave of his hand he shouted, cut these 4 people into 8 pieces. 4 people from the Li clan walked out quietly. They bowed and said, your orders. Li Qingyun said, approved. The 4 of them turned around in unison and strode toward them. Their targets were Wei Wuyan and the other 3. Lang Yilong's expression was cold and callous. He shouted, how dare you touch the people that I, Lang Yilong, want to protect? Gold-plate officers. Kill these 4 for me. Black robes flashed and 4 gold-plate officers moved out at the same time. A great battle was about to break out. Li Qingyun shouted, no need to care about their identities as law enforcement officers. Kill all of them. I only want Lang Yilong alive. With a long roar, more than 200 people from the Li clan attacked at the same time. It snowed yesterday. I took my wife with me and called my friends out to play. 3 to 4 cars were filled with people. Everyone went out excitedly, ready to go to the mountains to watch the snow. One of my brothers even brought 2 dogs with him. He said that snowy days were a good time to catch rabbits. Cough. The snow in the city had already melted. When we reached the mountains there were only pitiful patches of snow. But everyone was in high spirits. They howled and barked. After barking for a long time, they still didn't manage to catch any rabbits. The rabbits ran in front while the dogs chased after them. A thin dog's hind legs spasmed as it ran, but it still didn't manage to catch any rabbits. Cough. Thus, everyone returned home and sent the dogs back. The women agreed to go shopping while the men went drinking. 7 to 8 of them started drinking from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 4 o'clock. Then they bragged and continued drinking at 7 o'clock in the evening. When they were done drinking they went to sing. All of them sang in strange accents until their voices were hoarse. When he woke up today he felt refreshed. It was just that his throat hurt terribly. The moment he spoke, his wife got a shock. His voice had turned into a male duck's voice. The wife of one of his comrades called to complain. She said that after he got drunk last night, he even turned on the television and turned on the sound system. Then he hugged the microphone and sang karaoke like a wolf. It was already past 2 o'clock in the morning. As expected, he received a complaint. In any case, he had completely relaxed last night. Cough, he had indeed relaxed. But it was time to get nervous after relaxing. Cough, the first update has arrived. I'll continue writing the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, begging for votes. G. To be continued. Chapter 1268. Li Qingyun was despondent. And something that he didn't expect at all happened. The moment the battle started, Li Qingyun rose into the air. Spreading his arms, he flew into the air and went straight for Lang Yilong. Soldier against soldier, general against general. This was the true way of killing. Master Lang, you've been hiding your strength all this while. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I really wouldn't have dared to believe that your cultivation has already reached supreme martial artist level. Li Qingyun shouted in the air, let me have a taste of Master Lang's purple crystal hand. His shout was firstly to intimidate Lang Yilong. Secondly, to warn everyone on his side. Lang Yilong was far from the 3rd-grade supreme martial artist that everyone thought him to be, but a 2nd-grade supreme martial artist. They must be careful. The rumor previously that Lang Yilong was in seclusion to break through to 3rd-grade supreme martial artist was actually wrong. Lang Yilong's eyes flashed. He said dispassionately, so the Li clan is here for this. With a jolt he went straight for him. Li Qingyun let out a hearty laugh. With a spin, sword light shot out. Lang Yilong's expression didn't change. He went up to him just like that. Seeing that the 2 of them were about to fight in the air, the most unexpected thing happened. This accident made it so that he didn't even have time to change his move or retreat. Right before their weapons were about to be removed, Lang Yilong actually threw out his sword hand fiercely. Then he removed all his defenses and turned it all into an attack. He clapped his hands in the air. With a loud smack, his palms were revealed. Purple light shone brightly and purple aura filled the air. Purple crystal hand. Lang Yilong crashed headfirst into Li Qingyun's sword light. But the reason why Lang Yilong didn't defend was precisely for this moment. Smack smack. 2 palms. one on his chest and one on his danton. Lang Yilong, you lunatic who doesn't care about your life. Li Qingyun shouted and somersaulted in the air. Even though he was in midair, his heart was already cold. Never would he have thought that Lang Yilong would start fighting with his life at the start of the battle. Oh no. He wasn't fighting with his life. He was obviously the one who didn't care about his own life and treated it as child's play. He also wanted to strike the enemy with his amethyst hands twice. This time, the purple crystal hand had been used by Lang Yilong, who was at the supreme martial artist level. It was even more powerful. The most terrifying thing was that the palm had landed directly on his dantian. Li Qingyun only felt a strange force rapidly entering his meridians. Following which, all the energy in his body began to assimilate with this force. It slowly dissipated. Li Qingyun really wanted to cry. What should he do now? Based on this speed, he would need at least 3,000 purple crystals from the first day he treated the purple crystal hand, and it might not be enough. 4 streams of blood spurted out from all over Lang Yilong's body. His chest had been completely pierced through. His internal organs were also damaged by this sword strike. In just a single exchange, the leaders of both sides had suffered fatal injuries. But Lang Yilong didn't care at all. With a pale face, he smiled faintly and said, "Brother Li, you have already experienced the purple crystal hand. The taste is not bad, right?" Li Qingyun almost wanted to bang his head against the ground. "Lang Yilong? You bastard!" He was so furious that he couldn't continue. Lang Yilong said calmly, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, Brother Li. The supreme martial artist level purple crystal hand increases in number of days. On the first day it might need 3,000 purple crystals. On the second day it will be 1,000. On the third day 12,000. On the fourth day, 24,000. On the fifth day 48,000. Stop talking." Li Qingyun's heart was cold. He let out a furious roar. On the sixth day 10,000. On the seventh day it will be 12,000. Lang Yilong chuckled. "Brother Li, I heard that the Li clan has a large purple crystal mine. But how many days can this large purple crystal mine last you?" As he chuckled, blood was already flowing out from the corners of his mouth. Li Qingyun's face was contorted. Just as Lang Yilong had said, he had suffered from such a domineering purple crystal hand. Even if the Li clan mined out all the purple crystal mines, including those that couldn't be mined, they probably wouldn't be able to sustain him for a month. Once the supply of purple crystals to the purple crystal hand was cut off, then, at the thought of how terrifying the purple crystal hand was, Li Qingyun was completely disheartened. With the purple crystal hand, once the supply of purple crystals is cut off, you won't be able to control your cultivation. Even if you want to commit suicide, you won't be able to do it. Lang Yilong smiled cruelly. Your entire body will slowly become as hard as purple crystals. After 3 days, even if you ask someone to help you on your way, they won't be able to move your body anymore. However, the inside of your body will be enduring endless pain. Then, starting from your fingers and toes, you will slowly turn into purple crystal powder and fall off bit by bit. All the way until you die, your mind will be very clear. The purple crystal hand is beyond the immortal and the mortal. It locks onto the spirit. Both your body and spirit will bear the pain and be destroyed together. You will die and your Tao will vanish without a trace. Lang Yilong choked and coughed. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth, but he didn't even wipe it off. He said, "Therefore, in the legend of the purple crystal hand, there's this saying, once the purple crystal is used, there will be 18 levels of hell. I'm very ashamed to say that I haven't reached the level where I can use all 18 levels of hell with a single strike. But now, I've already reached more than 10 levels." Lang Yilong chuckled. "Take your time to enjoy it. I, Lang Yilong, will be waiting for you in the underworld." "I was wrong. Because I won't be able to wait for you. Your spirit has already been destroyed." To Lang Yilong, those 2 strikes just now were also fatal injuries. Everyone was stunned at this moment. Crazy. Lang Yilong had definitely gone crazy. "Give me the antidote." Li Qingyun roared, looking extremely forlorn. "When have you ever heard that there's an antidote for the purple crystal hand?" Lang Yilong swayed. "If there's an antidote, why would I cultivate the purple crystal hand?" "Master." The officers from the interrogation hall stepped forward at the same time and called out in concern. Cough cough. "I can't do it anymore either." Lang Yilong chuckled. "Dying here can also be considered as returning to my roots. I'm very sorry for dragging all of you into danger. Now brothers, listen to my last order." "Order." Lang Yilong roared. "Present." The officers stood ramrod straight and listened to the order. I order all of you to charge out of the encirclement at all costs, return to the interrogation hall and report my death. Lang Yilang said fiercely, anyone who disobeys my orders is not my brother, regardless of life or death. Master. Someone cried out mournfully. Receive the order. Lang Yilang shouted furiously. I receive the order. Someone lowered his head dejectedly. I'll pave the way. Lang Yilang straightened his body. Wei Wuyan, if you don't want your brothers to die with you, charge out with them. Wei Wuyan took a deep breath. Yes. Purple crystal hand, heavenly reversal power. Lang Yilang roared fiercely. Suddenly he straightened his body. A layer of clear purple light enveloped him at once. The blood on his chest and back actually miraculously stopped flowing. This is the final technique of the purple crystal hand, heavenly reversal power. It can restore all of its cultivation in the shortest amount of time. However, after half an hour, it will be completely drained. If you don't want me to die with everlasting regrets, follow me. Suddenly he turned around and strode toward the Li clan's human wall. With tears in his eyes, this officer followed behind Lang Yilang without any hesitation. This might be the last time in his life that he would be following behind the master. At the sight of Lang Yilang walking toward them, many Li clan members shuddered. Fear appeared on their faces and they couldn't help but retreat. Kill them. Kill them. Li Qingyun shouted furiously. I want to torture these bastards to death in the cruelest way possible. Kill them. Lang Yilang let out a maniacal laugh. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he shot forward. Li Qingyun let out a loud roar. In a flash he stood in front of Lang Yilang and fought with his life. Right now, Li Qingyun no longer cared about Lang Yilang's purple crystal hand. Since he had already made his move, it wouldn't matter if he got hit again. The most important thing right now was to get rid of Lang Yilang. Li Qingyun had already given up on everything. He didn't dodge or evade at all. Instead he fought head-on. Right now the leaders of both sides already didn't care about their lives anymore. The Li clan members surrounded them and started fighting. With a roar, Wei Wuyan and the others drew their swords and sabers. Right from the start, the battle was already unprecedentedly tragic. Before the weakest subordinate could even get injured, Lang Yilang and Li Qingyun were already bleeding from all 7 orifices. With a loud bang, Li Qingyun's left hand flew out along with his shoulder. At the same time, Lang Yilang's left hand and forearm also flew away from home. It was only then that people from both sides started screaming and grunting. With the Wuyan sword in hand, sword light shot out like a waterfall as Wei Wuyan charged forward with one Renjie and the other 2. This officer also roared and tried to break out of the encirclement. However, the overall strength of the Li clan was more than 10 times higher than theirs. If not for the fact that they were wary of Lang Yilang's purple crystal hand and didn't dare to get too close to him, they would probably already be dead. With a loud roar, Wei Wuyan let out his left shoulder and pierced his sword into the chest of the enemy in front of him. At the same time, his shoulder was also slashed by someone else. Blood splattered everywhere. Like a mad tiger, Wei Wuyan charged outward. The Li clan members tried their best to stop him. Right at this moment, at the back of the Li clan, a dazzling light lit up silently. Chu Yang had no choice but to make a move. From the looks of it, Lang Yilang would probably have passed away if he had made a move a moment later. Once Lang Yilang died, the deterrence would be gone. Wei Wuyan and the others definitely wouldn't have any hope of charging out. This sword strike carried with it a revolving force. After Chu Yang changed the order of the moves that the Calamity Sword had disrupted, they were gathered together. What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world? The sun and moon will be my generals. Severing the worldly affairs of the world. Gathering of the clouds and clouds. For moves. The Li clan members who were fighting with all their might would never have imagined that on their way here, a peerless killing god would suddenly appear behind them, sharpening his blade. Begging for votes. I'll continue to write the 3rd update, NG, to be continued. Chapter 1269. Covered in blood, Wei Wuyan was charging forward with his brothers. When he raised his head, his eyes suddenly lit up. Right in front of them, more than 100 feet away, a dazzling ball of sword light was rapidly taking shape with a domineering aura that could devour everything. A man in white appeared without a sound. It was actually Chu Yang. At this moment, Wei Wuyan was overjoyed. Although he didn't know how Chu Yang managed to come here without a sound, based on the current situation, as long as Chu Yang cooperated with them from the outside, there wouldn't be any problem in opening up a path for them to break out of the encirclement. Juan Renjie and the other 2 finally wouldn't have to die because of him. Soft hissing sounds suddenly rang in the air, as if something was brewing and trembling. It was as if the entire world was also trembling and trembling along with this strange sound. Someone from the Li clan seemed to have vaguely sensed the abnormality. He hurriedly turned back to take a look, only to see that a ball-like ball of light had already taken shape. The moment he turned back, it actually turned into a beam of sword light with a diameter of 10 feet. Dazzling all over, it flew toward him like a rainbow. This Li clan expert was scared out of his wits. He shouted, "Enemy attack!" The surrounding Li clan members didn't know whether to laugh or cry at once. They were in the middle of a battle to begin with. How could there be no enemy attack? This bastard's brain must be damaged. But the next moment, a sharp sound of wind suddenly rang out. Chu Yang's sword had already surpassed the speed of sound. After the sword light was released, it had already reached its target. It was only then that the sound of the sword whistling could be heard. They were completely caught off guard. It was completely unexpected. The sword flew up like a rainbow, with a sword aura that could destroy everything. It pounced into the crowd ruthlessly. It was as if a huge whale full of destructive power had entered a group of small shrimps. Chu Yang shouted after he had struck with his sword, "Go this way!" Like a thunderbolt, the sword light exploded violently in the crowd. Cries of agony rang out. Heads rolled and flew into the sky. Broken limbs flew in all directions. Chu Yang had already charged into the encirclement. His sword collided violently with Li Qingyun, who reacted hastily. Li Qingyun was attacked from both the front and back. In front of him was Lang Yilong, who was charging forward desperately. Behind him was a completely unexpected and sudden attack. With a loud cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood and rolled on the ground. He staggered and retreated diagonally. The recoil from the supreme grade sword made Chu Yang taste something sweet in his throat. A mouthful of blood almost came out of his throat, but he immediately swallowed it back. At this time, the revolving force that he had left behind in advance suddenly exploded. His body abruptly turned a half-circle, and with a flash of sword light, he once again shot out 100 feet. However, he had already turned back. Stepping on the blood on the ground, he rushed out. "Follow me." Lang Yilong abruptly stepped aside to open up a path. One of the officers had already been sacrificed. The other 8, together with Wei Wuyan and the others, charged out madly behind Chu Yang. Lang Yilong stayed behind to bring up the rear. "If it was to kill the enemy, I'll take the lead. If you want to break out, I'll bring up the rear." Lang Yilong let out a wry laugh. He recalled how Hong Wuliang had once patted his chest and said to him, "We're brothers." Back then, when he had befriended Hong Wuliang and treated each other with utmost sincerity, Hong Wuliang had once patted his chest and said, "We're brothers." Although Hong Wuliang had never taken the lead in killing the enemy, nor had he ever broken out of the encirclement to bring up the rear, this sentence was carried out by Lang Yilong, who had been a listener back then in his entire life. Perhaps Hong Wuliang would never have thought that the touch he gave him back then would lead him to where he was today. Lang Yilong followed behind his brothers. His left hand was already broken and was still dripping with blood. However, he didn't care. As he ran, he paid attention to the movements of the enemy behind him. After a brief moment of shock, the Li clan members immediately let out furious and sorrowful cries. This sudden sword strike just now had actually caused the Li clan team to lose more than 20 people. "Chase! At all costs!" One of them roared, "Avenge our brothers! Kill these bastards!" Li Qingyun staggered and landed on the ground, not caring that he had yet to calm his breathing. He immediately gave chase. It was a deep hatred. No matter what, even if he had to die immediately, he had to kill Lang Yilong first. Like a raging whirlwind, the Li clan members gave chase. Thud, thud, thud. It was only at this moment that those heads that had suddenly been chopped off by Chu Yang's sword fell onto the snowy ground. As though a cart of watermelons had been overturned, they rolled here and there on the snowy ground. Lang Yilong, who had been galloping, suddenly stopped. His entire body and both his hands trembled strangely. He took a deep breath. The next moment he suddenly struck. Facing his pursuers, he suddenly leaned forward and roared, "Monstrous raging waves." That's right, this was the most powerful move that he had ever learned in his entire life. Raging waves. This was also the origin of the nickname Raging Waves Lang Yilong. Raging waves was a move with boundless power. Once it was unleashed, its power was like the rising tides of the sea, wave after wave. Someone had once joked, "The waves of 10,000 feet high go wild and thousands of lives don't last long." Raging waves, each wave stronger than the last, cough. Although it was a joke, each wave stronger than the last, cough. That was a true portrayal of this move. Although there was no water here, there was snow. With a whoosh, It was as though an avalanche had broken through the mountains at this moment. A wall of snow suddenly rose up in front of Lang Yilong. Then it turned into a snow wave. It was a good 400 to 500 feet wide, surging fiercely toward the Li clan members who had already caught up. Behind them, there were still snow waves brewing and pouncing toward them. Tragic screams and muffled groans rang out continuously. A furious bellow rang out, "This is raging waves." A figure broke through the snow wall, creating a huge hole. In the blink of an eye, a figure broke through the internal energy seal like an arrow and shot out. The moment he appeared, 2 lightning-fast palms struck Lang Yilong's chest. Lang Yilong's body shook and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the person in disbelief. "Li Qinglei." Before he could finish, there was a sudden cracking sound from his chest. His entire chest caved in. Like a kite with a broken string, he flew out. Li Qinglei, an early-stage 7th-grade supreme martial artist. He was the real main force and leading figure in this mission to capture Lang Yilong. Originally, due to his status, he had no intention of making a move at all. He only wanted to take advantage of the situation and take Lang Yilong down. With such a strong force, if they couldn't take down a mere Lang Yilong, then these people should really hang themselves. Besides, Li Qinglei was also honestly rather wary of Lang Yilong's purple crystal hand. He failed miserably at such an easy task, then it would really be over for him. There was no way to counter the purple crystal hand. But he seriously didn't expect things to develop to this extent. In his opinion, Li Qingyun's injury was practically courting death. He clearly knew that the other party had the purple crystal hand, yet he still dared to get so close to him. He clearly knew that the other party had just taken revenge for the greatest vengeance in his life and was determined to die. Yet he just had to go up and perish together with him. Li Qingyun could only blame himself for being stupid. It didn't pose much of an obstacle to the strength of the Li clan this time. But he seriously didn't expect that there would actually be someone hiding at the side as well, launching a fatal attack on his men right under his nose. As a result, Lang Yilong and the others actually rushed out temporarily. This was undoubtedly a hard slap to Li Qinglei's face. Therefore Li Qinglei was enraged. Without any regard for his status, he attacked fiercely. His first move severely injured Lang Yilong. The internal energy that Lang Yilong had gathered with his purple crystal's resurrection heaven again was completely scattered by these 2 palms. As if weightless, his body drifted backward in the wind and snow. The torrential waves that he had created were still wreaking havoc, but he had already lost consciousness. A figure suddenly appeared in the wind and snow. It was Chu Yang. He reached out. Catching Lang Yilong's body, he spun around and took advantage of the small space where Li Qinglei was still dispelling Lang Yilong's counterforce to flee at lightning speed. Li Qinglei was enraged. "Stop right there." He flew after him. 4 figures suddenly appeared. It was the 4 officers who had actually turned around at this moment. "Take our lord away. We beg of you." The 4 of them pleaded with Chu Yang. Then, almost without any hesitation, they charged toward Li Qinglei. At this moment, the torrential waves finally lost their momentum and the Li clan members rushed over. The 4 officers burst into laughter and suddenly linked arms. Standing in a row, they charged toward the Li clan members with Li Qinglei in the lead. The next moment, a loud boom reverberated throughout the heavens and earth. A mountain peak 1,000 feet away was actually shaken to the point of collapsing. 4 officers for supreme martial artists. At the last moment they activated the secret technique of life. They gathered all their life force at this moment, using their own bodies as the medium and the heavens and earth as the medium. If they touched the supreme martial artist taboo, they would be destroyed indiscriminately. They turned their own bodies into a huge bomb. When the 4 of them self-destructed in unison, the power was even more earth-shattering. Supreme martial artist taboo. That meant, as long as this move was used, it would be taboo even for a low-grade supreme martial artist. What more when the 4 of them self-destructed in unison? Li Qinglei let out a strange cry and forcibly stopped his forward momentum. Then he retreated abruptly. He felt a weight on his back as if an entire mountain had suddenly pressed down on him without warning. He retreated several hundred feet in an instant. Then he had to spin around 7 to 8 times before he managed to offset the pressure. Among the Li clan members who had already charged over, the few who were at the very front suddenly let out a strange cry. Then, like ordinary people who had been rammed by a raging bull, they were sent flying backward while flailing their arms and legs. By the time the explosion was over, a huge crater had appeared on the ground. It was several thousand feet deep and its length and width were even more shocking. Almost 1/3 of the Li clan members were severely injured in this explosion. All those who were first-grade supreme martial artists and below were injured simultaneously. There were even more than 10 people who were killed by the impact. In the land of heavy snow ahead, the group that had been fleeing had already disappeared without a trace. No one knew which direction they had gone in. The snowstorm drifted down, covering all traces in just an instant. What more when it was accompanied by such a terrifying explosion? After them. I want to see him dead or alive. Li Qinglei's expression was very ugly. In the northwest, even if they have wings, they won't be able to escape. The third update has arrived. I'll continue to write the fourth update. Chapter 1270. On a snowy plain. Chu Yang took the lead, carrying Lang Yilong on his back and advancing rapidly. Wei Wuyin, Wan Renjie and the other two followed closely behind him. Up until now, they hadn't even had the chance to exchange a single word with each other. The scenery on both sides flashed by continuously like shadows. Chu Yang's whereabouts were extremely strange. If not for the fact that Wei Wuyin and the others were following closely behind, they would have lost track of him in almost the blink of an eye. The 4 officers followed closely behind, their faces filled with grief and indignation. They had deliberately followed behind so that if the enemy caught up to them again, they would imitate the previous 4 and self-destruct to stop the enemy. They were all experts. After hastily treating their injuries and stopping the bleeding, they used traceless snow again. With a swoosh, they actually didn't leave a single trace behind in this snowy plain. Hold your breath. Even if you're suffocated to death. You have to breathe only when you're about to die. Chu Yang said in a low voice as he flew rapidly. No one made a sound, but their eyes showed that they had heard him. Everyone understood that Chu Yang's words were the key to whether they would succeed in escaping or not. Everyone had already sealed off all traces of their aura. Under such circumstances, only the sound, heat and smell of their breathing would become the only things that the enemy could track them down. As long as they pulled away from the enemy's line of sight in the early stages of escaping, then held their breath and cut off all possible channels for information to leak out, they would be able to buy a little more time. And this extra time would be the key to whether they would succeed in escaping or not. This period of time would be the real battle of wits and courage. How to escape from the enemy's base camp required extremely precise planning. If they didn't even have this time to plan, then that would be the real tragedy. There would be absolutely no hope of escaping. It was conceivable that once they lost track of them, the clan would definitely mobilize. The Li clan would definitely mobilize their entire clan. Even if they had to turn the entire northwest upside down, they would definitely not let them leave. If news of them attacking the master of the law enforcement interrogation hall were to spread to the law enforcement hall, it would definitely be a nightmare for the Li clan. As Chu Yang advanced rapidly, he dispersed his internal energy to dissipate and eliminate the breath of the unconscious Lang Yilong on his back as well as the smell of blood on him. Everyone followed Chu Yang as they fled hurriedly. After running at full speed for a full 6 hours without panting, everyone felt as if their lungs were about to explode. He felt like he had gone around in circles. Finally, a plane appeared in front of him. The flat terrain created a flat snowfield. It was as far as the eye could see. If he were to escape on such a plane, he would definitely be seen by the enemy. But Chu Yang leaped up without any hesitation, carrying Lang Yilong on his back and entering this snowfield. Behind him, Wei Wuyin and the others followed without hesitation. The 4 officers hesitated for a moment before finally following him. Although he didn't understand Chu Yang's intentions. However, the chief was on his back, so he had no choice but to follow. In the next breath, Chu Yang suddenly stopped and stood on the flat snowy plains. Everyone was about to ask questions. However, Chu Yang waved his hand and pointed at his closed mouth, indicating that he shouldn't speak or pant. The next moment, Chu Yang's feet silently sank into the snow. Then he continuously struck out with his hands. The snow on the ground was suddenly separated to 2 sides, revealing the black ground. The snow that was separated to 2 sides looked like it was overlapping with the layer of snow, but in reality, it was supported by Chu Yang's internal energy, keeping it suspended in the air. Then Chu Yang punched a hole in the black ground. Under the snow was a layer of ice. After the layer of ice melted, the soil below was loose and soft. Chu Yang created a hole in a very short time and then pointed downwards. Realization dawned on everyone and they hurriedly went in. Chu Yang stayed at the back. Very carefully, he channeled his internal energy and quietly moved the layer of snow that was originally supported back. The moment he blocked the entrance of the hole, the piece of ice that was originally separated from the ground was held above Chu Yang's head and stuck there. At once, the hole was pitch black. Don't breathe. Make a hole first. The deeper the better. Chu Yang hurriedly said a few words. Now that things had come to this, everyone could only listen to him for now. Everyone's cultivation was at least first-grade supreme martial artist. It was really too easy for them to make a hole in the soil. Take note, don't keep accumulating the soil. Try to keep it intact and put it behind you. I'll handle the rest. Chu Yang said hurriedly. In this way, everyone made a hole in the front while Chu Yang was at the back. He quietly wrapped the soil that everyone made with their internal energy and carried it towards the entrance of the hole. Then he gently plugged it up. Then he used his internal energy to carefully tamp it down. This was done so that if the enemy really lifted up the ground to search, they wouldn't be able to find any traces of digging at this part of the hole. Chu Yang worked attentively. He always paid attention to leaving a hair-thin gap on the surface for the circulation of air. Chu Yang didn't forget that if it was completely plugged up, these people would probably suffocate themselves to death deep underground. Because until now no one had taken a breather. This cycle repeated over and over again. Finally, when everyone really couldn't hold it in anymore, Chu Yang finally showed mercy and said, "You can take a breather now." At this time they were at least 400 to 500 feet away from the ground. As if they had received great kindness from the emperor, everyone let out a long breath at the same time. Then they hurriedly took a deep breath. Although they still didn't dare to pant too hard, the fresh air that entered their lungs made everyone feel like they were reborn at the same time. Although the air in this deep underground wasn't very pleasant, who would still care about the smell now? It was already good enough that they could take a breather, but they only took 2 breaths before Chu Yang said again, "Don't pant anymore, continue digging. We have to dig at least another few hundred feet deep." Everyone almost cried out, "This is too inhumane, isn't it? Even their breathing has to be controlled?" But everyone understood what Chu Yang meant. Those that they didn't understand at first, they finally understood after coming to this hole. If they just kept running, even if everyone had 10 times more stamina than now, they would still be caught up sooner or later. Therefore, finding a place to hide was the best strategy. But in this northwest area, there was probably no hiding place that even the Li clan couldn't find. Therefore, Chu Yang simply made use of everyone's blind spot. They hid directly on the flattest plain that was the least suitable for hiding. This was a blind spot. Even if the people of the Li clan had chased them all the way here, they could only sweep past this plain once they saw it. No one would have thought that there would be someone hiding here. As long as they left this place, even if they reacted and wanted to look back again, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. This was the smartest method. Chu Yang didn't allow them to breathe, didn't allow their divine senses to probe, and all the steps. All of it was for this moment. Although this method still had a fatal drawback for the time being, it was already the safest method. Finally, everyone slowly stopped digging. Exhausted, they leaned against the cave wall and lay down, panting heavily. They could finally heave a sigh of relief. Chu Yang carefully processed the last batch of soil before he finally heaved a sigh of relief. Putting Lang Yilang down, he gasped for air. Throughout this entire process, Chu Yang was undoubtedly the most tired. If not for the treasure that was the tribulation dimension, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold on any longer. Right now, the other 8 people were looking at Chu Yang as if they were looking at a monster. This fellow carried someone on his back throughout the entire process, and his workload was even several times that of the rest. He actually managed to hold on. Such a godly person was indeed worthy of worship. Is Master Lang all right? The 4 officers looked at the unconscious Lang Yilang with concern. He's fine for the time being. Chu Yang panted. However, his purple crystal reversal has already exhausted all of his vitality. Once he wakes up, he probably won't be able to hold on for long. When he was escaping earlier, he had already fed Lang Yilang an incomplete version of the heavy pill. His injuries weren't a big problem for the time being, but the exhaustion of his vitality was indeed a big problem. The 4 officers looked sorrowful. Their heads hung low as if a knife was being twisted in their hearts. We'll have to stay here for at least 3 days or more. Chu Yang took a breath. Changing the topic, he said solemnly, especially the 4 of you. You must go back alive. He said to the 4 officers. The 4 of them nodded slowly and said solemnly, that's right. We must bring this news back to the law enforcement city. The 4 of them gritted their teeth at the same time, deep hatred in their eyes. Li clan. Li clan. Chu Yang nodded slowly. That's right. You must bring this news back. The 4 of them nodded deeply. After a long while, the 4 of them raised their heads abruptly and looked at Chu Yang with some astonishment. May I know who you are? We are deeply grateful that you stepped forward to lend us a helping hand in times of danger. Please tell us your name. Let us remember our benefactor's great kindness from time to time. Chu Yang leaned against the cave wall tiredly and lay down. Stretching his legs, he smiled rather strangely and said, "Well, it's better that you don't know my name." Even under such harsh conditions, when Qing Duiying heard the strange emotions in Chu Yang's strange voice and thought of the reason, he actually almost laughed out loud. Why? The four of them were very curious. Our benefactor saved all of us. Shouldn't we know your name? Chu Yang touched his nose and gave a wry smile. Cough because I cough. If you know my name, it'll be very difficult for you. What's difficult for us? The four of them were even more puzzled. What you've said really makes us even more curious. Chu Yang spread out his hands. Because we're enemies. He paused for a while and said straightforwardly, I'm the person whom you law enforcement officers have announced to the world to capture during this period of time. I'm also the extraterrestrial demon that you've mentioned, Chu Yang. The four of them were really dumbfounded at this moment. Extraterrestrial demon, Chu Yang? This person who saved them and Master Lang was actually the legendary extraterrestrial demon who committed all kinds of evil. Chu Yang? Chu Yang touched his nose helplessly and gave a wry smile. Look at me. I'm so handsome. Which part of me looks like an extraterrestrial demon? Begging for monthly votes. I wanted to write 5 chapters today, but I really can't write anymore. I overestimated my writing speed. Sigh, I can't make up for my full attendance. Originally, 15,000 was enough to ensure full attendance, but after 13 hours of hard work, I only have 12,000. So, my full attendance. To be continued. Chapter 1271. The 4 supreme martial artist officers of the interrogation hall were all stunned. They stared at Chu Yang. If not for the fact that they were in a dangerous situation, even the 4 supreme martial artists would have exclaimed in shock. All along, the Supreme Dharma Supreme had personally given the order to classify Chu Yang as an extraterrestrial demon. He even called upon the whole world to deal with this person. That meant that even if Chu Yang wasn't an extraterrestrial demon, he was still an extraterrestrial demon. Because the Dharma Supreme said that he was. During this period of time, every law enforcement officer had taken it as their duty to capture and kill the extraterrestrial demon Chu Yang. The officers of the interrogation hall were no exception. They even thought about how they should punish this extraterrestrial demon if he fell into the hands of the law enforcement officers. Should they let him have a taste of all the punishments in the interrogation hall? However, it had never occurred to him that when he and the others were in a life-threatening situation, besieged by the Li clan, and when the chief was seriously injured and dying, the one who stepped forward to save them was actually this extraterrestrial devil, Chu Yang. For a moment, the powerful enemy that he wanted to capture and bring to justice had suddenly become his savior. How could such a thing be so ridiculous? For a moment, the 4 of them were somewhat speechless. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Oh heavens, can you be any more ruthless with me? Chu Yang saw their reactions and shook his head with a smile. He said lightly, I, Chu Yang, have never been friends with the law enforcement officers. I saved all of you today because my brothers were here, not for you. His warm gaze swept across Wei Wuyin, Wan Renjia and the rest. He said, even without all of you, I would have helped too. Therefore this can't be considered as saving your life. If all of you really take it to heart, you're looking down on me too much. However, although all of us are enemies, we're in a dangerous situation now and it's not the time to fight. After we leave this place, if all of you want to capture me, let's have a real fight. By then, even if all of you don't find trouble with me, I'm afraid I'll take the initiative to find trouble with all of you. But now that we're in the same boat, we need to get through this first. What do all of you think? His eyes flashed and he said solemnly, of course. If all of you wish to shed all pretense of cordiality here and carry out the Dharma Supreme's orders, I, Chu Yang, will not be stingy with my life. Although this place is underground, the sky is high and the ground is wide beyond. It's enough for us to deal with. Chu Yang's words were neither servile nor overbearing. They were sharp and full of arrogance. Wei Wuyin, Wan Renjia, and the other 3 revealed a kind of pride in their eyes. They subconsciously puffed out their chests. Chu Yang's sentence, if you take it to heart, then you're looking down on me too much, was really too powerful. That's it. I saved you. So what? But I don't need you to appreciate it. Even if you want to accept my kindness, I don't want you to accept my kindness even if I have to offend you again. Wei Wuyin, Wan Renjia and the other 3 wore smiles on their faces as they looked at the 4 officers. However, their eyes were full of arrogance. If you make a move, we'll make a move. If you don't move, then be obedient. The 4 officers were stunned for a moment. Then one of them said emotionally, although we serve different masters, but, just as Brother Chu said, we're in a critical situation now. As for what happens in the future, let's talk about it after today. He raised his head and said calmly, however, no matter what happens in the future, we will remember Brother Chu's kindness in saving our lives. Even if we become enemies in the future, we will first repay Brother Chu's kindness in saving our lives. Perhaps Brother Chu didn't do it for us, but these few lives of ours. In the eyes of others they may be very lowly, but in our hearts, they are still a little important. Yang laughed. That's right. Good man. The atmosphere in the cave eased at once. Right at this moment, the voice of Lang Yilong, who was supposed to be unconscious, suddenly rang out weakly. Chu Yang is not an extraterrestrial demon. It turned out that he had already woken up. Everyone turned their heads at the same time. Overjoyed, the 4 officers surrounded him at once. Master, how are you? Lang Yilong checked his body. A strange look flashed across his eyes. Shaking his head, he said, Brother Chu has already treated my body more or less. However, my purple crystal heaven reversal secret technique has already drained all my life force. I'm afraid I'll have to say goodbye to all of you in the next life in the next few days. When Lang Yilong talked about his life and death, his tone was extremely indifferent. Vaguely, there was even a sense of relief. In fact, even the fatigue in his tone and eyes had dissipated by a lot. The 4 officers lowered their heads sadly at once. Lang Yilong paused for a moment. His eyes scanned the crowd. Frowning, he asked, Why are there only the 4 of you? Where are the others? The others? The 4 officers fell silent. Lang Yilong took a deep breath. Surprisingly, he smiled lightly and said, They left first? That's good too. I'll be able to find them when I go over this time. The people of the disciplinary hall have indeed expiated many souls. It's inevitable that enemies will be everywhere in that dark world. I can also work hard together with my brothers when I go over this time. After saying that, he turned and looked at Chu Yang with a smile. Thank you. Thank you for saving my brother. Chu Yang smiled lightly. I was just passing by. Master Lang's words make me feel embarrassed. Lang Yilong chuckled softly. Extraterrestrial demons are purely imaginary. However, since you've offended the Dharma Supreme, I'm afraid your future path will be difficult. It's not an exaggeration to say that every step is filled with thorns. What's true is that every step is filled with life and death. Chu Yang laughed. One can only become a hero by overcoming life and death, he said meaningfully. Lang Yilong also smiled. You don't have to console me. I know my own situation. This time I've really come to an end, Chu Yang said. Actually, you don't have to die. The moment he said that, the 4 officers were both surprised and overjoyed. They looked up. Purple crystal resurrection. Depletion of life force. That was equivalent to a normal death. Death from old age. Such a death could be said to be incurable. And now, Chu Yang actually had a solution? One of the officers suddenly stood up and said solemnly, Brother Chu, if you can save my boss, I hereby swear that my life will be yours from now on. He gritted his teeth. Even if you want me to betray you and go against the enforcers, I won't hesitate. The other 3 said in unison, The same goes for us. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. I do want to. Besides, I do have a solution. As all of you know, I took part in the medicine banquet. I obtained a piece of heaven-nourishing jade. Although most of it was snatched away, I kept an eye on it and broke off a small piece early on. I haven't used it yet. The eyes of the 4 lit up. The heaven-nourishing jade. There was hope for him. Chu Yang was also helpless. The whole world knew that the heaven-nourishing jade had been snatched away. Chu Yang couldn't possibly say that he had designed it himself. Chu Yang said, The heaven-nourishing jade can replenish the energy of the spirit. It's enough to restore some of Master Lang's life force. As long as he can get through this life and death crisis, he can slowly recover as he recuperates in the future. Master Lang, the world is vast and colorful. Although you've experienced a lot, it's not a lot, right? As for what's above the heavens, don't tell me you're not interested in going up to take a look? You're already a second-grade supreme martial artist who has transcended the boundary between immortal and mortal. With your speed, you'll be able to become a second-grade supreme martial artist within 1,000 years. By then, the splendor of the Heaven Imperial Court. Chu Yang chuckled. Among everyone present, only he and Wei Wuyan could sense what kind of state Lang Yilong was in right now. This was an absolute, carefree state after letting go of everything and completely relaxing. There was nothing else in this world that could make him reluctant to part with or interested in. This was Lang Yilong's state of mind right now. It wasn't that his heart was dead, but that he no longer had a heart. That was why Chu Yang described the infinite future. As long as Lang Yilong's heart moved, he wouldn't die. Lang Yilong shook his head and sighed with a smile. Chu Yang, you've really put in a lot of effort. He smiled, his eyes full of calmness. He struggled to get to his feet. His internal and external injuries, more than half of them had already been healed by the incomplete version of the heavy pill. His movements were no longer hindered. He took a deep breath and said, I, Lang Yilong, went through great changes in my childhood. My family was destroyed and I wandered the martial world. I started to fight from the lowest level. In this life I've cried, suffered, laughed, loved, hated, enjoyed glory and suffered humiliation. I climbed up step by step and climbed to the position of the disciplinary hall's master. In this heavens, I'm also considered to have a high position and authority. But what I want isn't a position, nor is it authority, much less glory. What I want is revenge. It's very narrow. I admit it, but that's the greatest motivation that has supported me throughout my life. Hong Wuliang ruined my life. But if it weren't for Hong Wuliang, I definitely wouldn't have been able to make it this far. He's an enemy that I hate so much. Even though he's dead now, he still is. But he's also the spiritual pillar that keeps me alive. Today I killed him with my own hands. I used the most ideal method that I've ever imagined. I'm very satisfied. I yearn for the Heaven Imperial Court very much. But if I go up there, I'll have to start from the lowest level again. I've already fought once, I don't want to fight again. I'm already tired of this secular world. It's really annoying. Very annoying. I'm tired, so I'm leaving. I'm going to that world. Lang Yilong said calmly, now that Hong Wuliang is no longer in that world, it's the environment that Xia and I live in. Xia must be waiting anxiously by now. If I still don't go, won't I be letting her down? I've already let her down my entire life. Am I going to miss even our reunion in the netherworld? I killed Hong Wuliang and then I was beaten up to this state. This is my fate. It's destined. I accept it. He looked at Chu Yang meaningfully and revealed a meaningful smile. Perhaps you want to go against the heavens, but I don't. Cough, I could have updated earlier today, but I made a mistake. Cough cough, I was joking with my wife and bit her. Cough cough. This is very normal. I usually bite here and there. If I'm unhappy, I'll just take a bite. But this time I wasn't sure. I thought I just bit her clothes, but I didn't expect to bite her flesh. Cough cough. I'm already an adult, but I burst into tears on the spot. There's a swollen part on my arm, asterisk cough asterisk, bird in a terrible fix, asterisk cough. Back to the topic, we've chased 100 votes today. I'm very satisfied and very happy. So I'll continue. This is the first update. I'll continue to write the second, third, and fourth updates. I hope to receive more monthly votes from everyone. Thank you. To be continued. Chapter 1272. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. None of these people who stood at the pinnacle were easy to deal with. Each and every one of them was shrewd. Lang Yilong knew about his own injuries, but the fact that he immediately recovered to this extent after Chu Yang used the medicine actually confirmed in his heart that Chu Yang was the Tribulation Sword Master. That last sentence, perhaps you want to go against the heavens but I don't, was expressed very subtly. So, you'd better not try to persuade me anymore. I feel terrible listening to it. You don't feel good either. Lang Yilong said meaningfully, let me die. It's good for everyone. Chu Yang could only smile bitterly. This Lang Yilong was really ruthless to himself. He might as well cut off his own path of retreat and also cut off Chu Yang's path of advancement. You saved me. I'm the master of the law enforcement interrogation hall. As long as I go back, you won't be able to keep your identity as the Tribulation Sword Master. So don't save me. It was clear how much he longed for death. Chu Yang spread out his hands and said, since Master Lang has already put it this way, I really have nothing else to say. However, I still find it a pity. Regarding the words spoken by these two people, the others were all in a fog, not knowing what they meant. This was also Lang Yilong's concern. If he said anything, it would be equivalent to causing the deaths of his current 4 brothers. Even if Chu Yang didn't want to silence him, he had no choice but to do so. Therefore he only asked to cut off his own path of retreat. There's nothing to feel pity about. Lang Yilong smiled. You don't know how much I longed for this day. Back then, It wasn't that Xia didn't have the chance to leave with me, but she didn't do so in the end. I know. She thought that she was no longer chaste. And I misunderstood her at that time and made a mistake due to a freak combination of factors. This led to Xia's tragic death. He sighed and looked at the mud wall in front of him with a clear gaze. There was actually endless gentleness in his gaze. After I leave this time, I can't wait to tell her that I don't care. No matter what happens to her, I don't care. What I care about is whether we can be together or not. It's already been so many years. I'm really afraid that she has already reincarnated. Lang Yilong was a little worried. I wonder if she's still around. She can't be gone. Chu Yang sighed. She died with endless regrets and great resentment. I heard that even the reincarnation passage won't accept it. Then I can rest assured. Lang Yilong heaved a sigh of relief. Chu Yang said so. It was a legend. And Lang Yilong, a supreme martial artist expert of high status and authority, actually believed it right away. Everyone sighed inwardly. Lang Yilong no longer wanted to live, but finding that Xia was his greatest hope. Therefore, even though he knew that the so-called other world was illusory, he still did not hesitate. Even though he knew that Chu Yang was just trying to comfort him. However, he chose to believe it without any hesitation. Only in this way could he confidently go and find his lover. If he lost even this little bit of confidence, in that case, to Lang Yilong, whether it was life or death, there was no longer the slightest bit of significance. Chu Yang pondered for a moment. With a flip of his wrist he said, Master Lang, if you really wish to, then this item. Maybe I can help you. She saw a small petal in Chu Yang's hand. It seemed to be emitting light. And this light was actually as bright and resplendent as a rainbow. It was just a petal the size of a fingernail, but it was actually clearly divided into 10 different colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, blue, purple, black and white. There was also a colorless and transparent color. Lang Yilong was shocked. 10-colored orchid petal? Could this be the heavenly orchid? Then, the heavenly orchid that changes once every 10,000 years and has one color for 10,000 years? Master Lang is very knowledgeable. Chu Yang praised. It's not that I'm knowledgeable. It's just that I've been looking for such things. It's already been more than 1,000 years. Lang Yilong smiled bitterly. If I had found it before this, would I still have any interest in taking revenge on Hong Wuliang? I would have eaten it and gone to look for Xia. He was smiling bitterly. However, everyone was moved by this. This Lang Yilong was truly, frighteningly infatuated. Since that's the case, I'm sure Master Lang knows how to use it. I'll just remind you of one thing. When you're about to die, if I place this orchid in your mouth and you die with it in your mouth, your soul will not be destroyed. If you find your lover's vengeful soul and pass half of the medicinal effects to her through spiritual inheritance, both of their souls will be intact and they will be able to sense each other. After reincarnation and rebirth, they will become a loving couple. Chu Yang sighed. Being partners in the netherworld is not as good as being husband and wife in the boundless secular world. Lang Yilong's eyes were burning. His hands couldn't help but tremble. Even his eyes were red from agitation. He couldn't speak properly. Thank you. Just as Chu Yang had said, being partners in the netherworld was not as good as being a loving couple in this world. Of course, Lang Yilong wanted to, but he didn't dare to harbor any hopes. Now, Chu Yang had directly solved his biggest problem for him. There were tears in Lang Yilong's eyes, but there was a smile at the corners of his lips. It was a sincere yearning. Yearning for the afterlife. No longer a dream. The biggest problem now was whether he could find that Xia after his death. Chu Yang's heart couldn't help but ache a little. He understood Lang Yilong's feelings very well. That was why he gave him the heavenly orchid. And he only gave him half of it. If one person consumed the entire heavenly orchid, their soul would be stabilized forever. After reincarnation, they would be able to retain their memories and 30% of their current cultivation. They would become a heaven-defying character. But what Lang Yilong wanted wasn't glory. What he wanted was happiness. If two people consumed one heavenly orchid, it would only stabilize their spirit and then allow them to sense each other. It would create a strange phenomenon of the two souls being connected, but it wouldn't bring along their memories and cultivation. Two people working hard together, improving together, taking care of each other. That was the true path of a husband and wife. And that was what Lang Yilong wanted. But you must remember this. Chu Yang reminded him sternly, during the reincarnation journey, you must never hold hands. Otherwise, if you become a pair of biological twins, that would be terrible. Lang Yilong shuddered. With a somewhat pale face he replied, "Yes, yes. Thank you for the reminder." That was what he was thinking just now. Once we hold hands we'll never separate again. Chu Yang's reminder. It almost scared him out of his wits. If that really happened there would really be no end to this hatred. Lang Yilong's mood lightened. In fact, the gentle smile at the corners of his lips hadn't disappeared since he saw the heavenly orchid. "Brother Chu, there must be a reason why you saved me this time?" Lang Yilong smiled. "As long as you say it, I'll do everything in my power to fulfill your wish." Chu Yang smiled. Master Lang is indeed a smart man. Lang Yilong smiled as well. "Please speak." Both of them knew very well. If Chu Yang had only wanted to save Wei Wuyan and the others, then he definitely wouldn't have suddenly turned around and carried Lang Yilong on his back and escaped at the last moment. One must know that he was really risking his life at that time. If the other party had been just a little bit faster. Even if Chu Yang had a life he wouldn't have been able to escape. Not to mention that he had even carried Lang Yilong on his back for 1,000 miles after saving him. The land of purple aura from the east. Chu Yang sent him a telepathic message. Realization dawned on Lang Yilong. He replied straightforwardly, "No problem. Brother Chu has given me a new lease of life. I Lang Yilong am someone who's about to die. Being able to be of help to Brother Chu can also be considered as having resolved some mortal karma." Chu Yang heaved a long sigh of relief. He had finally seen the truth of the Calamity Sword fragment. But he didn't know. Then the 7th and 8th. Where exactly were they? "Brother Chu, I'm here. I still need to stay here for at least another 3 to 5 days. Lang Yilong's breathing was a little weak. Leaning against the cave wall, he said rather apologetically, "I didn't want to die in this cave at first. It's not right to let everyone accompany a corpse. But the moment I saw the heavenly orchid, I really couldn't wait any longer." His revenge had been avenged, his wish fulfilled, and there were signs of the promise of the next lifetime. Lang Yilong's heart was completely at ease. He didn't want to take another breath anymore. Chu Yang said solemnly, "Regardless of life or death, it's all the same. Brother Lang. If you're here you'll accompany us. If you leave we'll send you off." Lang Yilong forced a smile. "I'll entrust these 4 brothers of mine to you. Chu Yang, let them return alive. I can't guarantee it. I can only do my best." Chu Yang said solemnly. Lang Yilong nodded understandingly. If Chu Yang had patted his chest and guaranteed it, he would have been worried instead. After all, the current situation was so dangerous. Their hopes were really too slim. "The 4 of you, go back and tell your brothers. I'll take my leave first." Looking at the 4 officers, Lang Yilong said with difficulty, "All these years, I've made use of all of you and I've also schemed against all of you. But in my heart, all of you are my little brothers. Cherish all of you very much. All these years, it's all thanks to all of you. It's just a pity that you'll have to walk your own path in the future." Tears streamed down the faces of the 4 officers. They nodded repeatedly. "Big brother, we really don't know what to say. We wish you all the best, yet it sounds so heartbreaking." A weak smile appeared on Lang Yilong's face. "Don't worry about me. You should be happy for me. My departure is something I've always dreamed of. All of you go back and tell your brothers. From now on, resign from your position as an officer and wander the martial world. Don't be a law enforcement officer anymore. This is my final order to all of you." "Why? Big brother, why is that?" The 4 officers were dumbfounded. Why did Lang Yilong actually say something like that at the last moment? "You must remember this. The law enforcement officers now, who oppose the Tribulation Sword Master, won't have a good ending. All of you have always believed in me. Then believe in me for the last time." Lang Yilong's voice grew weaker and weaker. "If you continue to oppose the Tribulation Sword Master, all of you will die." A hint of redness appeared on his face. "Promise me." It was already the final radiance of the setting sun. "Yes, we promise." Tears streamed down their faces. Panting heavily, Lang Yilong suddenly cried out, "Chu Yang, do you understand?" Suddenly his body stiffened and he stopped breathing. Right at this moment, Chu Yang struck at lightning speed. A piece of heavenly orchid entered Lang Yilong's mouth just in time. The 2nd update. I'm going to continue writing the 3rd update. Cough cough. After the 1st update, countless gossipy women sent messages asking, "Where exactly did you bite? Where did you bite? Where did you bite? I don't believe it's the arm. Fuck. You bunch of shameless gossips are simply intolerable. I'll punish all of you with 1 monthly ticket each." Do I look like someone who lies? Since you don't believe me, I'll punish all of you with one more monthly ticket. Everyone go and pay the fine on your own. With this thought in mind, there was nothing else to say. Just go and pay the fine as well. Asterisk cough asterisk 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 third update. Asterisk 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 to be continued. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Chapter 1273. Under everyone's watchful eyes, something strange happened. That petal of heavenly orchid suddenly turned into a streak of colorful light between Lang Yilong's lips and disappeared instantly. Then a ball of white gas emerged from the top of Lang Yilong's head. The white gas gradually turned into an illusory figure with clear features. It was exactly Lang Yilong. There was a petal of 10 colors on his head as he looked at everyone with a somewhat melancholy gaze. Chu Yang smiled and cupped his hands. Brother Lang, have a safe journey. In the next life, we'll be a pair of lovebirds, loving each other and growing old together. Wei Wuyin and the others bowed at the same time. Have a safe journey. The 4 officers knelt down at the same time. Boss, have a safe journey. Sob sob. However, they really couldn't hold back the pain in their hearts. Although they knew that they shouldn't cry, they still cried anyway. A hint of a smile appeared on Lang Yilong's illusory figure's face. He seemed to sigh before he floated up. The next moment he turned into nothingness. Everyone stood there in a daze for a long time. No one spoke. Lang Yilong, a supreme martial artist who had crossed the boundary between immortal and mortal, had disappeared from the mortal world in such a manner. Brother Chu, do you think this another world really exists? One of the officers was crying so hard that his face was full of tears. Can boss's wish be realized? Chu Yang heaved a deep sigh. It definitely exists. It definitely can be realized. It definitely can. As if Chu Yang's affirmation had given them the greatest assurance, the faces of the 4 officers were filled with piety and blessings. Boss, you must find sister-in-law. That world definitely exists. It definitely exists. Everyone sucked in a deep breath, feeling their hearts sink. Gathering in the netherworld and looking forward to the next life. This was originally something that ordinary people would say to fool themselves. However, Lang Yilong was a supreme martial artist. However, he had truly embarked on this path. Did that world really exist? Chu Yang didn't know because there was no evidence to prove it. That world really existed. But at this moment Chu Yang was praying, please, please, please. It definitely exists. It definitely has to be real. It wasn't just him. Everyone was praying at the same time. The 4 of you, pack everything on Brother Lang's body that can be brought back, or those that must be brought back, and bring them with you. Chu Yang sighed. We're going to let Brother Lang rest in peace. Yes. Right now, the 4 officers were very obedient to Chu Yang's words. There was also heartfelt gratitude. At this moment, even if Chu Yang was an extraterrestrial demon, the 4 of them also followed without hesitation. Be obedient. Because he had fulfilled boss' final wish. Wei Wuyin, Wan Renjia and the other 2 looked at each other, feeling a little emotional. For a long time, the law enforcement interrogation hall had been widely known in the pugilistic world. They were all sinister, evil, heartless and heartless. They were a group of murderous bastards from head to toe. I really didn't expect that there would be such a true man among them. Chu Yang, can I ask you for a favor? Wei Wuyin raised his head and looked at Chu Yang. Shut up. Forget about it. Chu Yang shouted, now use your martial power to heal your injuries. You won't get anything else. He knew what Wei Wuyin wanted to say. Because, when the strange phenomenon occurred after Lang Yilong's death, Wei Wuyin's eyes flashed with intense envy and longing as well as joy. Lang Yichiro could then. Doesn't that mean I can do it too? How could Chu Yang not know what was on Wei Wuyin's mind? Therefore, the moment Wei Wuyin opened his mouth, he immediately rejected him without hesitation. You want to die too? Isn't it good to be alive? You have to promise me. After being rejected, Wei Wuyin persevered and continued to make requests. His eyes were burning and his face was flushed. Chu Yang. Chu Yang gritted his teeth. No. Poof. Wei Wuyin knelt down at once. Chu Yang, I beg you. Chu Yang gritted his teeth, the muscles on his cheeks trembling non-stop. At this moment, his face was somewhat ferocious. He said furiously, are you forcing me? You bastard. Could it be that there's nothing else in this world that you cherish? He reached out and pointed at Wan Renjia and the other 2. The 3 of them, Wei Wuyin, open your eyes wide and take a look. They were afraid that something would happen to you and followed you for tens of thousands of miles. They were your companions, they lived and died with you, they fought hundreds of battles with you. If you died, would you be able to face them? He retracted his hand and pointed at his own nose. What about me? I didn't want to use favors to suppress you. But now you've forced me into a dead end. I've saved you many times between life and death, helped you to clarify the truth, helped you to take revenge and fulfill your long-cherished wish. Now that your wish has been fulfilled, you actually want to end it all with death? Are you able to face us? Chu Yang said sternly in a low voice. Wei Wuyan knelt straight but didn't stand up. He said, I know that I've let all of you down, but I have no other choice. I only request that I, Wei Wuyan, will escort all of you out of here. As long as all of you are safe, I'll be relieved. When the time comes, Brother Chu, please, give me a petal of the heavenly orchid. Let us reunite as husband and wife. Wei Wuyan pleaded. The 4 officers were shocked. What the heck? We've just sent the chief away and another one has appeared here. Why are all the sentimental people in the world gathered here at this moment? I've let all of you down, but I can't repay you even if I'm alive. Wei Wuyan said sadly, I don't care if any of you say that I'm irresponsible or a coward. But please let me owe you. The muscles on Chu Yang's face trembled. He finally felt speechless and sorrowful from the bottom of his heart. How could he not know that Wei Wuyan had nothing left to live for? Now that Hong Wuliang, the cause of his tragedy, had died right in front of him, Wei Wuyan didn't have the heart to continue living either. And Lang Yilong, it would be strange if Wei Wuyan could still hold it in. But, if you can abandon your own people, how can I abandon my own friends? Even if you've gotten what you asked for, in the eyes of the living, you're still dead. And I'm the one who's sending you on your way. Chu Yang heaved a long sigh and said disheartenedly, forget it? Get up. I don't want to say another word to you. Alright, after we leave this place, if you really think that you can leave without any attachments, feel free to come and look for me. As long as you look for me then. I'll definitely fulfill your wish. Chu Yang's eyes shone brightly as he glanced at Wei Wuyan. Then he closed his eyes and stopped talking. Thank you. Wei Wuyan sighed and stood up. He said again, I'm sorry. There's nothing for you to be sorry about. I'm telling the truth. Chu Yang smiled lightly. Everyone only has one heart in their life, it's called conscience. Some people regard power as more important than affection. Some people regard friendship as the most important thing. However, some people regard the love between a man and a woman as more important than friendship. This is understandable. We can empathize with you. As long as your heart is stable as a friend, we will only help you. He sighed deeply. At the end of the day, you and Lang Yilong are the same. If Lang Yilong could spend the rest of his life with the person he loved, even if the person he loved passed away along the way, he wouldn't be so obsessed with seeking death like he is now. And you're the same. If your wife and child were really killed by your enemy, you wouldn't be like this. All the obsession is because you didn't get it, or because you feel guilty. Chu Yang said deeply, I understand. I really understand. He sighed softly as he thought of Mo Qinggu himself. Wasn't that the case? If not for that obsession, if not for that guilt, how could he have come to this stage? Since it was Rui, what else was there to say about Wei Wuyan? I only hope that you and Lang Yilong won't be like me after you've really gone through another life. Chu Yang sighed. A lifetime of love debts. I wanted to make up for it, but I felt like I owed her. I was in a dilemma, but I had no choice. Chu Yang was stunned for a long while. Then he said softly, I'm afraid of seeing a beauty's tears all my life. I'm careful not to hurt a beauty's heart. Wei Wuyan stared at him in a daze. He understood what he meant but didn't know why Chu Yang said that. But he could totally hear the regret in Chu Yang's tone. Chu Yang was dejected for a while. Then he instructed everyone to make another big hole in the ground. They placed Lang Yilong's body inside. Then they buried it with soil and let Lang Yilong stay here for the rest of his life. This was the Northwest and also his hometown. This could be considered as returning to his roots, right? The master is buried so deep. There shouldn't be anyone who can disturb his peace and quiet anymore, right? One of the officers said in a daze. Then tears started to flow down his cheeks again. Chu Yang sighed and said, Rest in peace. Everyone, don't mention it now. Don't let people not be able to rest in peace even after death. We'll have to stay here for at least 3 days or even 5 days. Food and clean water are not a problem. In these few days, all of you have to try your best to recover your physical strength and cultivation. Chu Yang said dispassionately, You must know that once we go out, we'll face the Li clan's crazy pursuit. By then, it won't just be a low-grade supreme martial artist. The whole Li clan will probably be mobilized. Especially the four of you. The Li clan will definitely not allow you to return to Law Enforcement City. If you go back and report this to the law enforcement officers, it'll probably be the end of the Li clan. Therefore, the four of you must be careful. You must take care of yourselves. Besides, I can guarantee that all four of you will definitely not be able to go back. Therefore, all of you need to plan from now on. Who exactly is the most hopeful of going back? All of you know each other best about this, so it's not convenient for us to comment. Chu Yang asked, "Do you understand what I mean?" "Completely." The four of them nodded slowly with heavy expressions. "We'll do our best to protect all of you. Everyone work together and charge out. But the situation is ever-changing. Who knows when we might be separated? This kind of situation is highly likely to happen. If by any chance you're separated, the four of you also need to know what to do." Everyone stopped talking. Only a few officers were discussing in low voices, occasionally having heated arguments. That was because no one wanted to be the most hopeful one, but they finally started discussing. While Chu Yang and the others were recuperating underground, a huge upheaval was happening in the Li clan. This upheaval, coupled with the failed pursuit of Lang Yilong, made the Li clan feel as though it was the end of the world. Third update. I'll continue to write the fourth update. Requesting monthly votes. After midnight it'll be Monday. It's the start of a new week and it's very important. I'm requesting recommendation votes from everyone. If I haven't finished writing the fourth update by then and can't make a single chapter in time, please give your recommendation votes to Pride. Next week, charge into the monthly votes list. Charge into the recommendation list. And to be continued. Chapter 1274. On the second night of Chu Yang's successful escape from the Li clan, the maids who were blocking the carriage outside suddenly heard a faint moan coming from inside. Could it be that Lord Z has woken up? Then if we go in now, can we? Just as he was hesitating, he heard a thud from inside as if someone had fallen off the bed. Then another voice sounded, "Oh my mother? Who stuffed me under the bed?" Then it was followed by a series of moaning. Then another voice said, "Why am I lying here? Where is this?" The people outside were confused. What's going on? Then a scream was heard. "Ah, where is my who? Where's my beard? Oh my God! Who knocked me out? Who stole my beard?" The few people outside looked at each other. They were speechless. Your beard? Who stole it? Could it be that it was something good? Then everyone reacted at once. Wasn't this the voice of the old physician who claimed to have gone out to gather herbs? Why, just as they thought of this, they heard a series of noises coming from inside. Then they saw a person crawling out. Lying on the ground, he raised his head and asked tearfully, "What's going on?" Everyone was shocked. Their eyes widened. Wasn't this the younger of the two physicians who came that day? Hadn't he been taking care of Lord Z inside for more than a day? Although no sound came out, he had not eaten or drunk for more than a day inside. Everyone admired his dedication to his work. Why did it become like this now? Then another rustling sound came from inside. Another person crawled out. Lying at the door, he raised his head and asked, "What's going on? Where's my beard?" When the maids saw this, they were all petrified. Pairs of pretty eyes almost popped out of their eye sockets at this moment. Wasn't this the old physician who had gone out to gather herbs? What's going on? His chin was bald and there wasn't even a single strand of his beautiful beard left. When the numbers were compared, everyone was stunned as if they had seen a ghost. After a long time, a scream rang through the night sky. Trash. 2 pieces of trash. Li Wubo was so angry that his nose was crooked. He glared at the 2 physicians in front of him as if he wanted to devour them. Where are they? Where did they go? The 2 of you are dead, and the other one is seriously injured. He disappeared right under your noses for 2 days and you're still sleeping? The doctor was still in a daze and did not know what had happened. Yes. Where is he? Where did Lord Z go? His injuries are very serious. Another person tried to explain. We didn't sleep. Li Wubo shouted, "Shut up." Immediately, the 2 of them kept quiet out of fear. Say something. You 2 bastards. What exactly is going on? Li Wubo was so furious that his hair was about to stand on end. Damn it. I told you to keep an eye on him, and now that he's gone, what's going to happen to my purple crystal mine? The 2 of them shuddered and cursed inwardly. You just told us to shut up a moment ago, and now you're blaming us for not saying anything. Which one should we listen to? You're too hard to please. Trembling with fear, he recounted the entire matter to Li Wubua. However, the more Li Wubua listened, the more confused he became. The more he listened, the more frustrated he became. The more he listened, the more furious he became. Stop talking. You two idiots. Are you trying to piss me off to death? The two doctors were so aggrieved that they wanted to die. Do you want me to say it or not, or do you want me to say it? Could it be that an outsider took advantage of this opportunity when Zi Xiaoyan was seriously injured to injure our men and kidnap Zi Xiaoyan? Li Tongtian asked with a frown. Impossible. Li Wubua rejected it without hesitation. I've arranged for 8 supreme martial artists to be in the vicinity. 2 7th-grade supreme martial artists. If something like that really happened, they would definitely have heard something. He smiled viciously. Since we've already decided on the follow-up plan, how could we not have taken precautions? Clan Master, if he wasn't kidnapped by the enemy? From this, it seems that Zi Xiaoyan must have taken advantage of this opportunity to escape. But if that's the case, there must be a prerequisite. That is, his injuries are fake. It's just that. Why is that so? At the side, an old man with a white beard said as he stroked his beard. The chief doctor, who was kneeling on the ground, looked at this big beard enviously. So I have one too, and it's gone in one night, Li Wubua said irritatedly. But why did he escape? We don't know. That old man frowned. This is indeed strange. If he leaves now, he'll only lose 4 million purple crystals from the Li clan. That's all. And he didn't gain anything himself. Speaking of didn't gain anything. Li Wubua suddenly shuddered. He muttered to himself, didn't gain anything? If he didn't gain anything, will he leave? He stood up and paced back and forth. If he left on his own, then there's only one explanation. He doesn't want to work with us. Since he doesn't want to work with us, then he must have come here to get something. And then he'll leave after scamming us. If he pretended to be injured, he would be like a fish in water in the Li clan. If he didn't get anything, he definitely wouldn't leave. Since he left, then he must have gotten something. But what did he get? After saying this long string of tongue-twisting words, Li Wubua's expression became uglier and uglier. If he wanted to get something, he could only get it from a place that he had been to before. And during this period of time, under our strict surveillance, he only went back and forth between here and the Purple Crystal Mine. There's nothing here. So he won't get it either. Then the only possibility is, following Li Wubua's deduction, everyone's faces turned snow-white. Not bothering to punish the two doctors, Li Wubua suddenly stood up and hurriedly walked out. Go to the Purple Crystal Mine. Everyone followed suit. In a flash, all of them were gone. The two doctors climbed to their feet in a daze. Scratching their heads, they were confused. Why couldn't they understand what the clan master said just now? All the supreme martial artists flew at the highest speed possible. They were practically as fast as lightning. In an instant, they arrived at the Purple Crystal Mine and barged in aggressively. When Li Qinglu received the news, he put on a coat and rushed over barefooted. Clan Master, what happened? What happened? Li Wubua's sharp eyes looked at him. You don't know? Li Qinglu was dumbfounded. He scratched his head in confusion. Should I know? Li Wubua frowned. Nothing happened in the mine? Li Qinglu was even more confused. Nothing. The purple crystals weren't stolen? Li Wubua frowned. Definitely not. Li Qinglu stood at attention. I guarantee it with my head. What the fuck are you guaranteeing? Li Wubua couldn't take it anymore and cursed. He waved his hand irritably. Open the storeroom. He could tell that this was also a daydream. He couldn't help but feel frustrated. Why couldn't they find a few people who could come up with strategies in such a big clan? Li Qinglu agreed repeatedly and hurriedly led the way. The storeroom was opened. Looking at the purple crystals that were piled up like a mountain, everyone was speechless. Nothing happened. What exactly went wrong? This was really extremely strange. Li Qinglu smiled obsequiously. Clan Master, all the purple crystals are here. Not a single one is missing. Li Wubua also started to scratch his head. Something must have happened. And it was definitely something big. But what exactly was the big thing? Why didn't they notice it at all? Not even a single strand of hair was missing from the entire clan. Could it be that Zi Xiaoyan was purely making a fool out of them? But since he had put in so much effort to do this, how could it be that? But it's also strange. In these 2 days, the mining of purple crystals has become easier and the mining volume has increased greatly. It's as if the stones have softened. Li Qinglu chuckled. This is great news. The stones have softened. Li Wubo's eyes focused. He turned his head abruptly, his eyes shining brightly. Yes, yes. Li Qinglu nodded repeatedly, a confused smile on his face. Li Wubo frowned and paced slowly. He activated his cultivation to investigate. Suddenly his eyes sharpened. Why do I feel that the spiritual energy of the universe here has become scarce? Everyone didn't notice it. They only activated their energy to absorb the spiritual energy after hearing his words. All of them couldn't help but be surprised. That's strange. Really? This place had always been the place where spiritual energy was the most concentrated and inexhaustible. But when they activated their energy this time, they clearly discovered that not only was the spiritual energy less, it was also impure. It was completely different from before. Let's go into the mine. The ominous feeling in Li Wubo's heart grew stronger and stronger. Everyone hurried into the mine and came to the front of the water tank-sized hole that Lord Z had mined. They took a closer look but couldn't find any clues. There's no problem. Li Qinglu, who had a coat draped over his shoulders, took the opportunity to quickly reach up his sleeves. There's no problem. Li Wubo went up and placed his hand close to that huge pillar, activating his energy to sense it. But just as his palm touched it, before he could activate his energy, a small piece of stone suddenly fell off with a loud crash. With a loud crash, it fell in front of Li Wubo's feet and shattered into pieces. The more than 10 supreme martial artists were all dumbfounded. What was going on? Wasn't this pillar difficult for even second-grade supreme martial artists to damage? How could it? Li Wubo was still in disbelief. He reached out and tried to dig. With a loud crash, another large piece of stone fell off. Li Wubo suddenly thought of a possibility. Suddenly his whole body started to tremble. Looking at this water tank-sized hole, his breathing quickened and his eyes fixed on it. Suddenly he let out a fierce roar and struck out with his palm. Clan leader, don't. Be careful not to be injured by the impact. Fuck. How did this happen? Oh my god. The supreme martial artists were in the midst of reminding Li Wubo. But what happened the next moment made them all dumbfounded, as if they had met a ghost. The fourth watch has arrived, begging for monthly votes. G. To be continued. Chapter 1275. Everyone felt at the same time that the most unbelievable and unexpected thing of this century had happened. Li Wubo let out a fierce shout and struck out with his palm. The wind from his palm whistled through the air, striking the large hole that Lord Z had created. Everyone tried to dissuade him. Some were panicking, some were on guard, some got into position and prepared to save the clan leader. But under everyone's watchful eyes, a deafening boom sounded. Stone chips flew everywhere. Everyone was dumbfounded. Because that huge pillar that even a second-grade supreme martial artist couldn't even leave a single white mark on, with a loud boom, a huge hole appeared on it with this single strike of Li Wubo's palm. The hole was 400 to 500 feet deep. Everyone was dumbfounded. What was going on? Could it be that the clan leader's cultivation had already surpassed the peak of second-grade supreme martial artist and reached a level that no one could understand? Otherwise, how could the clan leader break this huge pillar that even the elder master was injured by back then? And it looked like he did it very easily? Although Li Wubo was mentally prepared, when this really happened he was still dumbfounded. He couldn't help but look at his own palm. The big hole that Li Wubo had created with his palm went straight in, just like a wide road. At this moment, stone chips fell and white smoke came out of the hole. It was dense and filled the air. However, there was only a choking sensation and not the kind of spiritual energy that they had imagined. Li Wubo's expression became even uglier. Without waiting for the smoke to dissipate, Li Wubo leaped forward. He rushed in. The other supreme martial artists also rushed in. The next moment, everyone stood in the empty pillar, tongue-tied. It was empty inside. Empty. Nothing at all? Where were the purple crystals? Purple crystal cores? Purple crystal jade essence? Souls of the purple crystal? Holy crystals? Divine crystals? All of these, all the wonderful things that Lord Z had described, everything was gone. There was only air. Li Wubo's face was purple and swollen. He roared, "Where are the purple crystals?" Everyone was dumbfounded and kept quiet out of fear. Their faces were full of questions. Their heads were full of questions. That's right, where did the purple crystals go? If they were to say that there was nothing in here, then they would be beheaded. Everyone couldn't believe it either. A sea of purple crystals was actually surrounding an empty shell? Who would believe that? Originally, even a late-stage supreme martial artist wouldn't be able to open it or even leave any traces behind. It was actually an empty shell? Who would believe that? Purple crystal. Where's the treasure? Li Wubua howled in grief. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where? Ah. Li Wubua couldn't quite accept it. No one would be able to accept this. Because this was the greatest obsession of the entire Li clan for the past 10,000 years, and also where their greatest hope lay. Everyone knew that there was bound to be a heaven-shaking treasure inside. As long as it could be opened, the strength of the entire Li clan would multiply by several folds. This was something that was set in stone. But now it's open. There was nothing inside. It was to the point where he could come out with 2 streams of tears in his eyes. Zi Xiaoyan. Li Wubua stomped his feet and bellowed, pausing after every word. The resentment in his tone was overflowing. He only felt his chest churning, and a mouthful of blood was about to flow out of his throat. Before Zi Xiaoyan came, even a late-stage supreme martial artist couldn't even leave a white mark on it. Purple aura was everywhere and spiritual energy was abundant. But after Zi Xiaoyan left, there was no more spiritual energy, no more purple aura, and even that extremely sturdy huge pillar collapsed with a touch. If one were to say that all of this had nothing to do with that Zi Xiaoyan, who would believe it? If one were to say that the treasure inside wasn't stolen by Zi Xiaoyan, who would believe it? Zi Xiaoyan? Li Tongtian was the most tragic, because he was the one who brought Zi Xiaoyan into the Li clan. At this moment he was also the most furious. His head full of white hair was about to stand up. But before he could say anything, Li Wubua had already rushed over. He grabbed Li Tongtian's collar and asked fiercely, "That Zi Xiaoyan, who exactly is he?" He actually didn't care that this Li Tongtian was his ancestor at all. Li Tongtian's old face was flushed red, and his gaze was evasive. You what? Li Wubua stomped his feet and howled. You old fool. You old bastard. You've destroyed the foundation of the Li clan. You've ruined the future of the Li clan. You. Suddenly, with a groan, he spat out a mouthful of blood. He fainted in a fit of rage. Right at this moment, a series of faint sounds suddenly rang out continuously. The sounds were very soft but very strange. It was as if, yes, it's just like what we're experiencing right now. The glass on the window suddenly cracked without a sound. Suddenly, a supreme martial artist cried out in horror, This. What's going on? This. At once, several people were startled awake. What is this sound? Everyone turned to look in horror, only to see that on the walls of this huge pillar many thin cracks were spreading out in a zigzag manner like snakes. The speed was extremely fast. Starting from the huge hole that Li Wubua had opened, the cracks spread out in all directions. In an instant, the huge pillar was already filled with such cracks. Everyone's eyes widened in horror and they were speechless. Then, this place is going to collapse. Everyone get out quickly. Someone screamed at the top of his lungs. From the sound of his voice, one could imagine the image of the person who screamed with his mouth full of blood spurting out. Everyone came to their senses at once. They carried Li Wubua on the ground and rushed out. Everyone leave quickly. Everyone get out of the purple crystal mine. Li Tongtian roared loudly. There were still 50,000 people working in this purple crystal mine. Among them there were quite a number of ordinary people. Most of them were king level and below. These people definitely wouldn't be able to withstand the collapse of this huge mountain. Moreover, most of the people here were people with the surname Li. It was too late. A huge purple crystal mine with underground tunnels extending in all directions. It had long been hollowed out. Everyone was working inside. How could they all evacuate in a few breaths? In fact, it didn't even take a breath. Even Li Tongtian and the rest had yet to rush out of the hole. Boom. That pillar suddenly collapsed like flour, collapsing. Then, a huge mountain range that reached the clouds, like an ancient giant suddenly falling down from slow to fast. Boom, 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 crash, 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 crash. Then there was a loud crash, boom. The entire mountain collapsed. It sank into the ground. A huge impact. A huge tremor. It caused all the buildings of the Li clan nearby to jump up neatly at this moment. Yes, jump up. All the buildings. At this moment, the buildings all jumped up from the ground like skipping ropes. Everyone could imagine such an image in their minds. Under such a huge surprise, a person jumped up without a care in the world. A huge mushroom cloud rose into the sky. The aftermath of the tremor spread out rapidly. The next moment, 7 to 8 peaks in the surroundings jumped up neatly. Then, crash, crash, crash. At the same time there was an avalanche. Uncountable large amounts, vast amounts, of profound ice that had accumulated for 10,000 years broke free from the mountain peak and rushed down in an instant, rushing over in large strides. Their target was the Li clan's base. Of course, who would build a house at the top of a mountain? Especially when it was a huge area. Most of them were on the mountainside, in the valley or in the basin. Yes, that was it. Back then, the Li clan had chosen the location based on the feng shui. When they saw this valley and basin, someone had praised it, good place with a huge mountain at the back. It was the backing. Moreover, it wasn't just a huge mountain, it was a huge mountain, hugging this basin. As the saying went, with the stars shining, there was endless fortune. It was just that at that time, no one, including the geomancers, had thought that one day the backing would collapse. This huge backing would collapse at the same time, but so what? Such a spectacular scene could really challenge anyone's imagination. Thousands of mountains and valleys converged into a torrent. Rolling down at such a speed, it surpassed any Qinggong in the world. The surging snow waves brought along stones, rocks, layers of mysterious ice and so on, whizzed, and rushed into the Li clan. The buildings of the Li clan that had just jumped up and landed on the ground were still shaking, as if they were still considering, should I collapse? When such a serious question was asked, the avalanche was already near. What was called, crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Here there was a perfect explanation. All the buildings collapsed neatly, and then a row of snow waves came crashing over, drowning all traces. And the snow waves on the opposite side also came crashing over. Finally, right in the middle, all the rolling snow waves seemed to carry the hatred of killing one's father and stealing one's wife as they collided fiercely together. Boom! The accumulated snow rose into the sky like a mushroom cloud. No one knew how high it was. No one knew how far it was. Such a situation was just like, the great river flows east, washing away all the influential figures of the past. To the west of the old fortress, it was once the Li clan's base. Rocks pierced through the clouds, raging waves beat against the shore, it was really 1,000 piles of snow. Thinking back to the Li clan in the past, they were a big clan, majestic and heroic, proud and arrogant, slaughtering the innocent without blinking. Now that the snow was buried, the sentimental should cry. Life was like a dream, good and evil would always be repaid by the heavens. After a long time, the commotion finally subsided. The Li clan's base was a flat land full of ditches and rivers. What a great piece of flat land. It was just that they couldn't see where the buildings were. Between heaven and earth, there was complete silence. After a long while, whoosh, a head popped out from the snow. His face was full of confusion and his eyes were full of fear. He turned his head and looked at the snowy plains. Suddenly he was filled with grief and indignation. Ah, what's going on? Whoosh, 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 on the snowy ground heads popped out one after another like radishes after the rain. Then they were similarly dumbfounded, followed by hysteria. What's going on? No one would have thought that in this remote northwest, a world that had been sealed in ice for hundreds of thousands of years, something like this would actually happen. This, even if it's a dream, it's still, that, and that, and that, God knows how uncomfortable I am today. Anyway, my mind is in a mess. I'm thinking about everything but I'm not thinking about anything. It's a mess. Fortunately, the plot had been decided long ago and it had already started. Otherwise he might really have to ask for leave today. I'll continue to work hard on the second chapter. Chapter 1276. This was an earth-shattering change. And it could be said to be a tragic change. The Li clan was a super clan with 10,000 years of history. Of course they had many experts. Even the women, children, and servants were trained in martial arts. This was for sure. But with such a terrifying collapse, there were still many casualties. Quite a few people had been buried here. After a whole 3 days, the Li clan finally calculated the final results. Looking at the results, everyone was speechless. All the Li clan buildings were completely destroyed. In other words, the Li clan's foundation of 10,000 years was gone. The casualties exceeded 10,000. Everyone was covered in dust, dumbfounded. Zishayan. You despicable man, I'll tear you into pieces. Li Wubwa screamed at the sky as if he had gone mad. Immediately, the Li clan members cursed. All of them were cursing Zishayan for being a jerk. You still have the cheek to condemn others? A sorrowful voice sounded. Li Wubwa, you've ruined the entire Li clan. Now you're blaming others? Everyone turned to look, only to see a green-robed man standing on the snowy ground with his hands behind his back. He looked at everything coldly, a hint of pain flashing across his eyes. It was the founder of the Li clan, Li Chuanbo. Me? Li Wubo pointed at his own nose, extremely shocked and full of grievance. Elder Master. This is a great injustice. All of this is the enemy's scheme. It's all because of that damned Zishaoyan's vicious means. Yes, it's you. Li Chuanbo was exasperated. In a battle in the martial world, as long as it's an enemy, there's no way they won't resort to any means. The other party racked his brains to deal with the Li clan. Even if he used such means, what's the big deal? Are you still fantasizing that your enemy will have a fair battle with you? Fair and square? Li Chuanbo said furiously, how ridiculous. How laughable. Li Wubo knelt on the snowy ground. He only felt that his heart was as cold as this snowy ground, chilling to the bone. Moreover, the other party has already left. And he has already left some leeway. Li Chuanbo said. Li Wubo felt a little wronged at once. Left some leeway? Where did that bastard leave some leeway? Seeing that he was unconvinced, Li Chuanbo said, if the other party had created such a scene before he left, of course, he's inhumane. But the other party didn't do that. Instead, he left directly. Don't you dare say something like he won't be able to leave once he does that. Let me ask you. She was the only one who knew what was going on after the collapse of the world. Could he leave? Do any of you have the confidence to capture him? Even this old man can only watch as he escapes into the distance. Even if I can make him stay, I have to save time to save my family. But he didn't. Wasn't this considered as leaving some leeway? Are you still not convinced? Now he's been gone for 2 days, but you're the one who destroyed the mountain. You don't know how to repent and feel guilty. Are you trying to shirk responsibility? I didn't shirk my responsibility. Elder Ancestor, please enlighten us. Li Wubo wept bitterly, almost wanting to dig out his own heart. You didn't? Li Chuanbo's gaze sharpened. Let me ask you, after you went to the purple crystal mine, did you discover that the pillar could move again? Can you get through now? Li Wubo was at a loss for words. You don't have to quibble. Firstly, with your character, if you knew that it couldn't be opened, you definitely wouldn't have suffered the pain of the recoil. Secondly, after you came into contact with the hole, powder immediately fell from above. This made you certain that the pillar could be opened. That's why you took action. Li Chuanbo sighed deeply. It was your action that caused the entire mountain to collapse. Elder Ancestor. How can you blame the clan leader for this? Li Tongtian disagreed. Even if we didn't do anything, that place would have collapsed sooner or later. Moreover, the clan leader didn't know that it would collapse once he opened it up. So, this is where the problem lies. Li Chuanbo said, even if we didn't do anything, that place would have collapsed anyway. This sentence makes too much sense. Since all of you thought of this, have you ever thought of the consequences once it collapsed? Therefore, after all of you discovered that the place might collapse, your first reaction wasn't to destroy it but to immediately order the people to retreat. But all of you. This is the biggest mistake. As for what you said, you didn't know that it would collapse at all. That's even more bullshit. Li Chuanbo said furiously, the entire mountain is empty. The stone pillars supporting the mountain have all decayed. Why wouldn't it collapse? What kind of ridiculous logic is this? Li Tongtian. How can you say such ridiculous words? Li Tongtian lowered his head, his face full of pain and shame. Yes, since they had seen it and the moment they touched it they should have retreated. That way, although they would lose some of their belongings, they would still be able to protect the foundation of the clan. There's another mistake that is especially intolerable. Li Chuanbo's gaze was heavy. There was a sense of lamenting the misfortune and hating the failure to fight for it, as well as a sense of disappointment and desolation. The people who died in the clan were killed by the 10 of you. When the mountain collapsed, all of you were inside, right at the very bottom. But who are all of you? Li Chuanbo roared furiously. All of you are supreme martial artists. There are even 5th grade supreme martial artists and 3rd grade supreme martial artists. 7th grade supreme martial artists. All of you eat shit? A bunch of inhumane B****stards. Li Chuanbo stretched out his hand, his finger trembling as he pointed at his grandchildren. With your strength at the bottom at that time, you could totally use your cultivation to hold up the collapsing mountain. You could even work together to move the mountain that was about to collapse. Throw it out. That's not impossible. That way you could even protect the foundation of the Li clan. What? All of you usually flaunt your strength and fight with a mountain. But at the critical moment of the clan's survival, all of you supreme martial artists actually abandoned the women and children of the clan. You clearly had the power to turn the tide, but all of you escaped faster than the other? You watched your loved ones die an unnatural death with your own eyes. You had the power to do so, but you did nothing. Now you're still crying and scolding others? Li Chuanbo roared furiously. What kind of things are all of you? How can I, Li Chuanbo, have grandchildren like all of you? After this round of scolding, Li Tongtian, Li Wubo and the others all looked at one another. Then an extreme sense of regret welled up in their hearts. The elder master was right. When that mountain collapsed, they did indeed have the power to hold it up and even move it away. Even if they couldn't completely avoid the disaster, they could definitely avoid most of it. In that case, the Li clan would at most have a few miners crushed to death. To the clan's foundation of 10,000 years, there wouldn't be any damage at all. But at that time, everyone actually didn't think of this at all. They only thought of escaping. Slap, slap, slap. Li Tongtian raised his hand and slapped himself crazily. His face was full of regret and tears rolled down his face. At once, a series of slapping sounds rang out. However, this matter had indeed happened too suddenly. Back then, everyone was underground and a mountain collapsed. Moreover, there were things that even a low-grade supreme martial artist couldn't move. Those things, they were really scared to death. Other than escaping, what else could they do? As long as one of them said to escape quickly, the rest of them would naturally follow suit and run away in a daze. At that juncture, who would still remember that they could actually turn the tide? What are you still standing there for? Waiting for death? Li Chuanbo roared furiously. Why aren't you opening up a cave and letting the people stay first? Why aren't you hurrying to collect resources from the ruins? So that the people don't freeze or starve to death first. Why aren't you hurrying to collect useful things? Can these things come out automatically just by standing there? Li Chuanbo originally wanted to just reprimand them this time. But the more he spoke, the angrier he got. In the end, he almost had the thought of beating this bunch of bastards to death personally. This was really too infuriating. After reprimanding, Li Chuanbo huffed and disappeared in a flash. Only the crowd was left dumbfounded. Humans were all like this. When a disaster happened, no one wouldn't blame others and blame others. But no one would think about what role they played in this disaster. This was the common characteristic of humans. Li Wubo, with endless regret and dejection, started to lead people to rebuild their home. As for finding out who was responsible and arresting Zi Xiaoyan, under such circumstances, who would still dare to bring it up? Even the elder master was so angry. Before the reconstruction, even though Li Wubo was filled with hatred, he could only wait until everyone was settled down. Of course, when it came to rebuilding their home, it was only to quickly open up a cave in the mountain and then distribute the living quarters to everyone. After the distribution, how to partition the cave or how to open up another small cave. That would be the family's business. As for truly rebuilding their home and restoring it to its original size, Li Wubo felt that 8 to 10 years was probably not enough. No wonder. Li Wubo heaved a long sigh at the sky as he instructed the people to get busy. The clans that were destroyed and rebuilt. Our Li clan is no exception. Fortunately, not many experts died this time. He actually sounded very lucky. With regards to this sentence, the few supreme martial artists in front of him strongly agreed. Now that things had come to this, only this sentence was the best tool to comfort people. Just as the reconstruction of the Li clan was in full swing, the group of people who went after Lang Yilong finally sent someone to bring back news. The person who came back to report the news was the most ridiculous. He walked around in a circle, not daring to believe that this was the clan that was still a majestic building when he left. The huge change in the clan really shocked him to the point of disbelief. But the news he brought back was undoubtedly one disaster after another to Li Wubo. After a bolt from the blue, it was followed by a thunderclap. Li Wubo immediately jumped up without a trace of his poise. What? Li Wubo's eyeballs almost popped out. So many of you went to capture Lang Yilong, but he actually escaped? Suddenly he flew into a rage. Are all of you eating shit? Begging for monthly votes. Gee, to be continued? Chapter 1277. This news almost caused Li Wubo to break down. Especially, after knowing that Zi Xiaoyan was unreliable. Li Wubo even felt that he had stepped into a trap from which he could no longer extricate himself. I'm such a fool. He said that if he caught Lang Yilong he would have the best purple crystal mine in the world. And I actually believed him, Now, not only did he escape, he even destroyed the Li clan and pushed himself into a perilous situation, because Lang Yilong had also escaped. The most devastating thing was that Lang Yilong had escaped after being attacked by the Li clan. It was said that Lang Yilong himself was fatally injured and 5 of the officers were also dead. This was an irreconcilable feud. At the thought of this, Li Wubo felt a chill run down his spine. Even his heart was trembling. How far are you going to push me to death before you're willing to stop? Li Wubo roared at the sky, but his voice sounded like he was wailing. In this bleak and cold world filled with snow, a sense of desolation welled up in him. He looked at his clansmen who were busy working around him, at the sorrowful and stupefied look on their faces. Li Wubo heaved a long sigh at the sky. He still had the poison and aphrodisiac that he had prepared. Those were prepared to deal with Zi Xiaoyan. Looking at the few beauties that he had carefully selected to carry on Zi Xiaoyan's lineage, Li Wubo wished he could raise his hand and give himself a tight slap. One wrong step led to many wrong steps. Ever since he believed that the other party could retrieve the purple crystal mine, he had been led by the nose by the other party all along. The other party's methods were not brilliant. But he had grasped a word: greed. His own greed. Or rather, the Li clan's greed. What made Li Wubo speechless the most was that to this Zi Xiaoyan, this matter was really unintentional. He didn't intend to come over in the first place. But it was his own clansmen who forced him to come. This was really a huge joke. He forced the other party to come, but in the end, his own clan was destroyed. Then he even made an unparalleled strong enemy out of nowhere. For a moment, even Li Wubo was at a loss. What should he do? This place needed to be rebuilt. He couldn't wait a moment longer. But the other side was even more urgent. If Lang Yilong and the others were to escape, what awaited the Li clan would be the most brutal revenge of the law enforcement officers. What should he do? He was indeed the clan leader of one of the great clans. Li Wubo was only dazed for a short moment. He immediately made a decision. Things could be slowed down a little here, but if there was a mistake on the other side, it would be a disaster that could wipe out the entire clan. All supreme martial artists and above are to assemble immediately. Li Wubo issued an order. Of course, the members of the supreme martial artist level and above here were those who could be mobilized by Li Wubo. As for the others, such as the Li clan's senate, the Li clan's ancestral hall, and so on, these were powers that even the clan leader had absolutely no right to use as he pleased. But even so, there were still more than 100 supreme being experts who had gathered. The Li clan is facing a matter of life and death. Li Wubo took in a deep breath. I hope that all of you can put down the work at hand and lead the members of the headquarters immediately. Seal off the northwest and capture the enemy. All the supreme martial artists looked at each other in dismay. A matter of life and death? Could it be that the current miserable state of the clan was not a matter of life and death? Was there anything more serious than this? Li Wubo gave a simple explanation of the matter and said, once Lang Yilong returns to the law enforcement city, everyone should know what the Li clan is about to face. All the supreme beings sucked in a breath of cold air. If we capture Lang Yilong, we will be able to own the #1 purple crystal mine in the world and our strength will increase by a few folds. Even if the Yi clan and the Shao clan join forces, they may not be able to match up to the Li clan. But if we can't capture Lang Yilong and let any one of them escape, the Li clan will be doomed eternally. Li Wubo's voice was solemn. He only felt bitterness in his mouth. The matter of the #1 purple crystal mine in the world. He didn't want to say it at first. If he did, it would be as painful as stabbing a knife into his own heart. But at the moment he could only use such a gimmick, to stabilize the hearts of the clan and give these supreme martial artists who were about to set off on an expedition a goal full of hope. I'm not asking you to throw your lives away, I'm definitely not going to run amok either. But, it was really a matter of great importance. It concerned the future of the clan. Since that's the case, there's no time to lose. We'll set off immediately. All the supreme martial artists said at the same time. Clan leader, please make the arrangements. Good. Li Wubo said with relief, the most urgent thing now is to do. Nothing can be done more than to seal off the northwest exit immediately. Especially the main exit where the mountains are high and the forests are dense. It's adjacent to the center of the continent, adjacent to the north and connected to the west. There are countless exits there and it's the easiest place for the enemy to sneak out. The other exits are all located in remote areas. Moreover, there's no sign of human habitation in the hundreds of millions of miles. It's equivalent to going one round around the heavens before one can return to the continent. We just need to send some people to keep a lookout. Our current goal is to seal off the periphery like an iron bucket. During this period of time, only entry and exit are allowed in the entire northwest region. Even if it's someone who looks completely harmless, he's definitely not allowed to leave. Here, I have a request for all of you. Even if it's a rat, before this matter is settled, no one is allowed to leave the northwest. After everyone leaves, immediately mobilize all the affiliated clans of the Li clan in the periphery. Mobilize all of them. You must also convey my message. This is our only goal. Anyone who wants to leave the northwest must be dead but not alive. Even if they're confirmed dead, their heads must still be chopped off. In short, no one with a complete body is allowed to leave the northwest. Wubo represents hundreds of thousands of people in the clan. Please. Li Wubo's expression was solemn. He bowed deeply, his forehead almost touching the snowy ground. For a long time he didn't even straighten up. Seeing how solemn the clan leader was, everyone instantly felt a heavy weight on their bodies. It was as if there was a feeling of the wind is blowing and the water is freezing quietly spreading. The comfort of the clan will be entrusted to all of you. Everyone was silent and solemn. The supreme martial artist experts only hurriedly made some arrangements. Then each of them led dozens of people and the one with the most hundreds of people and left at lightning speed. Currently, the forces that the Li clan could deploy were only these 10,000 plus people. However, once these 10,000 plus people left, the reconstruction work immediately fell into a slow stalemate. What's going on? Where are they? Li Chuanbo immediately noticed the abnormality. In a fit of rage he came out and asked. They've all gone out. Facing the elder master, Li Wubo had a natural weakness and deep-rooted fear. For so many years, the elder master seemed to have spoken the most in these few days. Moreover, most of it was said to himself. However, not only did Li Wubo not feel honored, he even felt like committing suicide every time. They've gone out? Why would they go out at such a time? Who allowed them to go out? Li Chuanbo was really so infuriated by his grandchildren that he was about to vomit blood. There were hundreds of things to be done. There were even quite a number of people who would die if they were too slow in settling down. At such a time, more than 13,000 of the most capable construction workers were actually missing. Wasn't this nonsense? It's me. At this moment, Li Wubo only wanted to dig a hole and bury himself. It's you? Oh. You're really a good person. Li Chuanbo was so angry that he laughed. Tell me the reason. It's like this. Li Wubo recounted the matter while trembling. As he spoke, Li Chuanbo was speechless. In the end, the pitiful elder master of the Li clan, this peak-level supreme martial artist, could no longer say anything other than trembling, "You." Li Chuanbo was so angry that he rolled his eyes. Gritting his teeth he asked, "Do you know how pigs die?" Li Wubo let out a terrified cry of surprise. He didn't expect the elder master to tell him a story at such a time. When you die, you'll know. Pigs also die this way. Li Chuanbo scolded while trembling. He wanted to say something. However, after trembling for a long time, he still couldn't say anything. He wanted to scold him, but he really didn't even have the slightest interest in scolding him anymore. He was really disheartened and completely disappointed. His whole body was ice cold and his interest waned. I, Li Chuanbo, have been a hero all my life, yet I gave birth to a bunch of vile spawns like you. The elder master let out a long sigh and finally left, disheartened. Li Xiongtu's majestic figure was constantly moving, constantly helping people to carry things and dig holes. He came and went as if he was flying. His face was expressionless, but there was definitely no hint of impatience. Chu Yang and the rest stayed in the depths of this underground for a full 5 days. During these 5 days, all of their divine senses were retracted. They didn't carry out any probing. It was as if they were corpses buried underground. Other than breathing, they didn't do anything else except cultivate and recover. However, everyone could feel that the ground above their heads had been completely overturned once. It was a full 1,000 feet deep. When they were digging holes back then, if it wasn't for Chu Yang's strong request, deeper. Even deeper. Based on the situation back then, they could only dig so deep. Otherwise they would have been thrown out by the Li clan long ago. For 3 consecutive days, the rumbling sounds on the ground didn't stop. One could imagine that the surface of the ground right now had already changed. From the 4th day onwards, there was no more movement in the surroundings. Obviously, the search team had already gone elsewhere and given up on this place. However, Chu Yang still didn't let them go out. Now it was the 5th day. We'll move again after 3 days. Chu Yang said, The Li clan has already gone crazy. Everyone's eyes revealed a hint of joy. To these few people here, the more upset the Li clan was, the happier they were. There's one more thing that I forgot to tell the four of you. Chu Yang looked at the four officers. After you go out, no matter who it is, if you make it to the law enforcement city alive, when you talk about your experiences during this period of time, don't ever mention my name. I know that all of you are experienced in the martial world, but if you don't prepare a script in advance when you are questioned, it's inevitable that you will reveal some flaws. And all of you should also know that a moment of trembling in your eyes is a fatal flaw to the interrogation hall. Therefore, all of you need to prepare a set of lies in advance and remember them well. Chu Yang warned. The four of them understood what Chu Yang meant and agreed solemnly. Then the four of them began to discuss. The 8th day. Chu Yang secretly released his divine senses to probe. Finally, a smile appeared on his face. It's time for us to go out. Begging for monthly votes. Continue writing, NG, to be continued. Chapter 1278. The few of them stood up. They took a look at this dark and gloomy cave that they had been hiding in for 8 days. Their expressions were very solemn. These 8 days were calm and peaceful. Once they got out, it would be a bloody battle that spanned thousands of miles. No one knew if any of these brothers beside them would be able to walk out of the Northwest alive. It was the most dangerous situation. For a moment, everyone actually felt rather reluctant to part. Once we get out, it will be a bloody battle. It might be you or it might be me, but we will all be buried in the Northwest. Chu Yang's voice was solemn. It is absolutely impossible for all of us to walk out of the Northwest unscathed. Someone will definitely die. Everyone, you must be prepared. Wei Wuyin and the rest of the 8 nodded solemnly. After we get out, we will try our best to stay together and maintain our full strength. Unless it is absolutely necessary, we must not split up. Chu Yang said solemnly, however, we will be separated sooner or later. Therefore I will say my farewells here first. Everyone take care. You must stay alive. Everyone's eyes were filled with gratitude. They looked deeply into each other's eyes and said in unison, everyone take care. You must stay alive. At this moment, even the 4 officers felt the same way. To hell with the extraterrestrial demons. At this moment, they were all brothers who would live and die together. Let's go. Chu Yang took the lead and walked out. Wei Wuyin and the rest followed closely behind. The 4 officers took 2 steps forward and stopped at the same time. They turned around and knelt down. Boss, may you find sister-in-law. Forever and ever. Together forever. The 4 of them kowtowed fiercely at the same time. When they raised their heads, their faces were already covered in tears. They were bidding farewell to Lang Yilong, who was already separated from the netherworld. On the ground, after the Li clan's group had gone through a lot of trouble, the snow that was dozens of feet thick had disappeared. There was only black soil left. The black soil moved gently. Then a hole the size of a human head quietly appeared. Then the surrounding soil arched up soundlessly, forming a barrier that blocked the hole that had just appeared. And then, only then did a human head emerge from the hole with extreme caution. 2 intelligent eyes were rolling around, surveying the terrain. There was nothing unusual. Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. Chu Yang had thought of many things while he was diving out. Of course, they were all very unimaginable. For example, as soon as he poked his head out, someone suddenly grabbed his hair and said, "Ha! Little, so you were hiding here?" Fortunately, such a thing did not happen. Chu Yang swam out. That's right. He swam out. After his head popped out, it stuck to the ground. Then, as if there were no bones in his body, he slowly crawled out of the hole. His head led the way in front, like a snake slithering out. Then the other 8 people behind him followed suit and swam out. The cave was instantly sealed. Without a trace. Everyone was lying on the ground. When they looked around, they immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. The originally flat snowfield was now full of potholes. Heaven and earth turned upside down. Originally, the place was covered in silver, but now only sporadic snowflakes could be seen. All the land had been turned over. The yellowish-brown soil was dug up. If it wasn't for the fact that it was still snowing, they wouldn't even be able to see these sporadic snowflakes. As the saying goes, 3 feet into the ground. But from the looks of it, the Li clan has done more than 3 feet. Chu Yang sighed. A full 1,000 feet deep. They've dug up this, the entire vast land has been dug up? Everyone nodded speechlessly. That was really a big deal. Looking around, all the land had been dug up. Even the mountains as far as the eye could see had been turned into mounds. Obviously, even the mountains had been turned over to search. Such strength and density caused everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. Everyone has seen the Li clan's determination. Jianghu took a deep breath. Everyone nodded solemnly. Don't say anything else. Let's move. If we want to escape from the Li clan's tight encirclement, we need to be prepared. Yang lowered his body and leaped up. Follow me. Everyone followed closely behind him. She could rest assured that her life, future, and mission would all be handed over to this young man at this moment. Trust and tacit understanding had been formed without a sound. Yang's body was like a soundless wisp of smoke, traversing the ground. Keep up with my speed and imitate my movements. Don't make any mistakes. When we get out, change out of your black robes as soon as you have the chance. Especially the 4 of you in black robes. It's really too eye-catching in this northwest region. There's snow everywhere. It's simply a natural target. Everyone walked forward cautiously. Wei Wuyin and the others followed Yang's footsteps unconditionally. At first, the 4 law enforcement officers didn't think much of it. But as they moved forward, they realized that they were imitating Yang's movements. Every movement that seemed to be useless was, in fact, making use of every change in their bodies to make use of the surroundings perfectly. Even a blade of grass or a fist-sized stone was used by Yang as a cover to hide his body. And it was flawless. What was especially shocking was that Yang actually took into account the refraction of the hazy light in the sky for every movement he made. Even if there was a person beside him, as long as his cultivation wasn't high enough, it would be very difficult for him to realize that there was actually a group of people not far away from him. Slowly, everyone felt a sense of familiarity with Yang's walking route. Wasn't this the route that they escaped from 8 days ago? Why did Yang go back again? The next moment, everyone's guess was confirmed. Yang's hurried voice could be heard. This route is to the place where the battle took place. Firstly, this route must have been searched countless times by them. Secondly, so much time has passed. They must have thought that we have escaped far away. So, this route. Comparatively speaking, it's the safest route. He laughed softly. Thirdly, this is also the place where 5 of your brothers died. If we're lucky enough to find any traces, it'll be considered as us living people doing our best. Fourthly, as long as we reach the place where the battle took place, and it's also the route to the outside world that everyone is most familiar with, it'll be easy for us to escape. The eyes of the 4 law enforcement officers reddened. They said gratefully from the bottom of their hearts, "Thank you." They really didn't expect Yang to be so meticulous. He even took into consideration their inner feelings and their greatest regret. Indeed, those brothers were like a thorn in their hearts. If they could find anything, or even if they couldn't find anything, it would also be a great comfort to their hearts. I also have brothers. I understand this feeling. Yang's voice could be heard faintly in the wind. Everyone was silent for a while. It didn't take long. Under everyone's careful vigilance, they finally reached the place where the battle took place. Seeing the mess here, everyone was rather dejected. Along the way there were indeed no Li clan members lying in ambush. The 4 law enforcement officers widened their eyes and searched the messy ground seriously and carefully, for traces that belonged to their brothers. After searching for a long time, they only found a few pieces of black cloth, half of a sword hilt and a section of a saber hilt. Other than that they couldn't find anything else. There was a name carved on the saber hilt and only one word on the sword hilt. But these were already enough to tell who their original owner was. Looking at this familiar half of a sword hilt and a section of a saber hilt, tears rolled down the 4 law enforcement officers' cheeks. Put them away. Now is not the time to cry. Yang said solemnly, cry after we bring them back. He paused for a moment and said, now we need to confirm the route. How exactly can we escape safely? I haven't been here before. I need you to point out the terrain for me. The 4 of them gathered together and found a quiet place to shelter from the wind. They discussed in detail. Yang frowned and quickly outlined the route in his mind. It was snowing heavily. Everyone walked silently in the night. Along the way there wasn't even a village or a wish for them to change their clothes. They couldn't do that either. They had already traveled close to 500 kilometers and there was still no sign of the Li clan members. However, such calmness made everyone's heart beat faster. The Li clan would definitely not give up. They would definitely not allow them to return alive. The peace now was just the darkness before dawn. The more peaceful it was now, the more complicated and bloody the road ahead would be. For more than 500 kilometers, the ground beneath their feet had been completely overturned. The surrounding mountains had already turned into mounds and some had even turned into gravel. Other than the heavy snow that had just fallen from the sky, the original accumulated snow on the ground was basically nowhere to be seen. The Li clan's search actually didn't miss any blind spots at all. All the forests that could hide people were completely destroyed. The more they walked, the colder they felt. What kind of determination did they have to do this? After walking for more than 2,500 kilometers, a layer of silver that connected heaven and earth finally appeared in front of them. In other words, the entire Li clan had been flipped over in a huge circle with a radius of 2,500 miles. In other words, before the Li clan had finished searching the remaining places, there were already experts from the Li clan stationed here. The battle was about to begin. Take note, the battle is about to begin. Looking at the snowy white that connected heaven and earth dozens of kilometers away, Chu Yang said in a low voice, "Once we leave this area, we'll be in close combat anytime." Everyone nodded slowly. "Are you ready?" "Ready." "Then we're going to die. This is a path of certain death. We can only be considered alive if we can get out." "Good. Then let's take this path of death." With a low laugh, a figure rose into the air, sticking close to the ground and shooting out at an unimaginable speed. "After exiting from here, we'll be out of the northwest region." Everyone crouched on a small hill, buried in snow, looking at the intersection ahead. It was silent, but there was definitely an ambush here. For a long time no one moved at all. Just as everyone was about to be dazzled, a figure seemed to flash in the direction of the intersection. A man in white suddenly appeared. "I'll continue to write the third update. Please vote. G. To be continued." That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.